Hello and welcome to another brand new Unsourced Wall. I'm back here with my great co-hosts Tony and Doug, and we're here to talk about Scream. We're doing our own little stab-a-thon here. I just gotta ask, Tony, what's your favorite Scream movie?
Oh, favorite scary movie? That's a tough question. I feel like The Innocence is one that I always gravitate towards too, but it's either The Innocence or Lake Mungo. It's always between those two for me.
Those are pretty great picks. How about you, Doug? What's your favorite Scream movie?
Uh, well, favorite like horror scary movie is probably like The Thing or something. But like the scariest movie, like if I just want to get spooked, like probably Pulse.
Oh, it's pretty
Ooh.
good. The Pulse is really, really good. Yeah, Kristen Bell, right?
Yeah. I'm talking about the American one.
I mean, ooh, I can see why, man. Ooh, just,
I love it when movies are blue.
but don't get. How else would you know the red frequency is like that important unless the rest of it is blue?
Exactly. Yes, it puts everyone on the same wavelength, which is very theme appropriate.
Yeah. But I love the red frequency of tape. Anyway,
Now you're making me want to watch the remake because that sounds so dumb.
it
But
has
like
two
in a good way.
sequels. It has two
Yeah,
sequels.
that's true.
One with Scott Taylor Thompson.
What?
We just discovered an entirely new series we got to do.
I'm thinking about maybe we should probably do all of those. It's part of the Dimension Extreme catalog where they just crapped out direct-to-video sequels to all the horror movies.
Yes, rest in peace.
Yes, but don't worry. Blumhouse has carried the torch. They're
Oh.
carrying the flame, you know.
Mhm. You mean like they're pissing on a candle as they're trying to walk with their pants on between their knees, you know?
All right, so just to answer my favorite screen movie, I'm gonna say is it is a thing. I think that's a very important screen movie. I love it. I love how twisty and turny and just engrossing it is. I think the scariest movie I've ever seen was probably what's it called? Ask Me Anything. I always bring this up because like 99% like this just cute twee, teen coming of age romantic comedy, and then like it has like just the most starkest 30 seconds at at the end. And like, oh, okay, this is horrifying. This is horrifying and horrible. And that's pretty much it. That's a really bad sequel though. Starring Abigail Breslin. Not a good sequel. But
Ask
anyway,
Me Anything, the movie starring Christian Slater and Justin Long.
yes.
I've not seen this one, but
It's like not.
that
It's
was
not.
your pitch for it. That's me intrigued.
Yeah, 99% of it's just like, oh man, this is like a regular indie rom com. No, there'll be some dramatic and slice of life, and then like last 30 seconds, like, just shoot,
What
shoot.
happened to Abigail Breslin? Do they just keep her in a bunker until it's time for the next Zombieland?
I would.
No,
Okay.
I think she's actually doing Hallmark movies now. If I'm not
Hey,
mistaken.
that's its own industry. Like, I bet if
Mhm.
you're in that ecosphere, you're making bank, and you probably don't have to work too hard. So
Wait, was it Abigail Breslin or just someone that looked like her? I know it was. Oh, it was the other one that was like a child actress.
Which one?
She was like an American Girl actress. That's where I remember. So she was another child actress. Samantha Hanratty. That's who was in the sequel.
Okay.
She was in some of the Santa Claus movies. Anyway, let's move ahead. So Scream.
Abigail Breslin's not in it.
And then
Yes.
she's not in it. She wasn't
Sadly.
born yet, unfortunately. But she might be number 8. You know, we know that 7's going to be really
Oh
good.
God, yeah. I
Fingers
mean, the way
crossed.
this franchise is going, yeah.
Yes, I didn't realize it, but we're on the cusp of the 30th anniversary of this franchise, so this is perfect time to be doing this.
Well, yeah, they're really honoring it next year. That's the best possible way.
Yeah, it's time to say goodbye. Sometimes it's like dogs, 30 years old, like that's too old.
I'm glad that we're starting off this retrospective on that note, because like irregardless of how we feel about each individual film, I feel like coming into this we were all kind of aware that we're walking into a giant train wreck that's brought
Oh
upon
my
by
God.
themselves.
It's a funeral dirge.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah,
we're epitaphing it.
Mhm.
This is a
we're all on
eulogy.
the same page. We know what they did was shitty. Like we're like it's time to just put this dead horse to the grave, you know?
You know, get the glue out of it. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
strip the copper out of the walls. Okay, but
Mine underneath the fingernails
It's
of
the same
Matthew
mentality
Lillard.
I have for like I don't even care what they do with the Amazon Bond because Bond's over. Like
yeah,
like he died at the end of the last one, so that's the ending. That's
yeah,
the definitive
Yeah.
ending.
and like people make good arguments that No Time to Die is like is a huge homage to Doctor No. So it's like full circle. You know, it's full circle. So you don't need to go any further.
They should
Exactly.
have
Yeah.
just made Rami Malek Doctor No because it's like really weird his villain in that one. But yeah, I guess.
Okay, so Scream in 1996, directed by Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson, who is just a whole lot of waste potential of a person. Um, anyway, and we all know it, we all love it. It is a horror watershed movie. There is post Scream, there's pre Scream, and then there is the monolith that is the very first Scream. Let's see here. Let's get started by just getting out of the way. Everyone knows this. It's been talked about in documentaries, in behind the scenes videos, in commentaries. Scream is like kind of like the evolution or like the descendant of another meta-y horror movie that Wes Craven was involved with, wrote and directed. Wes Craven's New Nightmare, the final at the time Nightmare on Elm Street movie. And yeah, no, they do share a lot of the same lifeblood. It's just that I think that where they, the important separation is that Scream is a lot more involved with the premise. While I think that with New Nightmare, the idea of like, okay, the boundary between the fourth wall, fiction, reality, I feel like that weighs a lot of stuff down. It keeps it from being very mobile with the characters, with the horror, and I think it just drags it down. But just get your thoughts on New Nightmare out of the way because we got to touch on it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like just to start, because like I'm a huge fan of Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Like if we're talking about Wes Craven, I would say that that was my entry point, and that's where my heart lies ultimately. I'd say Nightmare on Elm Street's probably my preferred film of his filmography, but I'd say Scream's like a really close number two for me. But that being said, that movie, New Nightmare, the I think what's most interesting about it is that it's 20 years after horror kind of exploded as the genre we still perceive it as today, where the slasher genre started to kick into gear. It was mass commercialized through like B movies and low rent stuff that's direct to video, et cetera, et cetera. And in New Nightmare, you're seeing like people who made these legendary things coming to terms with their legacy. I think that that element is interesting. The problem is that Nightmare on Elm Street's kind of a campy franchise. It's not really like when you think about it, you don't think about like the characters having much weight to them. So when you're now all of a sudden asked to take them seriously, specifically Freddy, who, you know, is famous for calling people bitches, like you're just not going to be so scared of the reality that Craven's trying to bring to the story. So I think that what Scream does separately, not to get too deep into it, but I think that what New Nightmare failed to do and what Scream got successfully is if you're trying to have this kind of large commentary on the genre at the time, or to try to push the genre forward while doing pastiche, you kind of have to do it in its own lane. You can't like use an old genre pre-existing lore and expected
Yes.
trappings and try to reshape it, not just because of audience expectation, but because you're trying to fit a square peg through a circular hole. And,
Yeah.
and with Nightmare on Elm Street specifically, it just doesn't congeal in those same ways for me personally.
You make a great point, and it draws the direct reminder for me to Lay in the Water, you know, because
For sure.
Lay in the Water, M. Night Shyamalan, he had his whole kind of narrative and cosmology and mythology planned out, and like he's trying to do this whole thing, but like what fairy tales and storytelling mean to people, but like that's something that you only really care about and it's because it's specifically about Narvs and the grand Narv and Wiggles, whatever they're called, and like that doesn't come across as potent as that could possibly. I don't mind the messaging in Lay in the Water, but that really holds it down. I think that you make a great point that similarly by using Nightmare on Elm Street, New Nightmare does anchor itself unfairly to other things that keep it from reaching its full potential. What about you, Doug? What do you think?
I owe New Nightmare a rewatch. It's probably I have like a lot of blind spots for Craven. Like I haven't even seen all the Nightmare on Elm Street. I've only seen 1, 3, and New Nightmare. But yeah, and I liked all of those that I saw. But I think Tony is pretty much on the money of like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole of like it and maybe that's with the bias of I saw Scream first and then went back and saw New Nightmare, so I already knew of like the like ideal format for that kind of deconstruction. But yeah, you can see the beginnings of things, but like I'd say even in the just overall the Nightmare on Elm Streets I've seen, Tony was saying it's not a serious franchise, which I agree. Like Freddy, especially, gets goofier and goofier as it goes along. But I think Nancy was a very compelling, like, final girl, and like
Yes.
I see the through line from her to Nev Campbell,
Oh,
and
100%.
like that's like he's iterating on that.
No, I'll have to say, because like the very first opening of very first scene of Scream, famous, lone Drew Barrymore alone in a house, and then Roger Jackson on the phone. Like it is, if you just take away that it's happening, like in reality, if you like, even just inch it a little bit, this could be like a Nightmare on Elm Street cold open, okay? Because Roger Jackson is that talkative, snarky, cynical, very wisecracky kind of horror villain that Freddy, I think, became and maybe lost the weight of. But this is very much like a Freddy 3 and 4, where it is has just enough menace to be actually threatening, but there is a kind of witty element to it, and I think I love that a lot about this, because it's not a kind of a silent killer, but it's also something recognizable while still being kind of fresh, because Freddy, as you mentioned, is a lot more blatantly blunt in his verbiage, while there is a sort of tricky kind of thing to Ghostface's first introduction here. Like he's trying to be covert. He's trying to be, charming. He becomes a lot more like directly threatening. It's all really well done, and I think that does owe a lot to Freddy, to like the pathway Freddy led. In fact, this reminds me a lot of Dream Warriors. Because it's about
Yeah.
because I think what Wes Craven loves the youth. He loves the youth. He like I don't think it's a coincidence or it's a mistake that like pretty much almost all of his characters, aside from like 1 or 2 movies, really are all very young characters, very young children. He says that he loves people on their stairs because he loves having like kids outwit people, outwit adults. He loves that kind of stuff. He mentioned about that film. So I think that this really does harken back to Dream Warriors in a way, because it's about children, and in like those 2 movies, it's about raw wounds. It's about like the trauma of children, things that they can't tell other people, things that people don't believe in them. In this one, the authority figures in this one, it's like the Blob, but it's all like no one really seems to care about Nev Campbell's trauma. They notice it, but it's like we gotta move past this as a community. Like it's a dirty kind of thing. No one really cares what she's going through. Her dad is leaving on a fucking trip the year after her mother's murder, and the cops just feel like, okay, she's a weirdo. You know, People at school, they all treat her like a kid gloves. They don't treat her as a person. I think that's also a direct connection to those Nightmare movies. It's the same kind of thematics there, and so I really enjoyed like seeing that sort of emphasized in a rewatch.
Just to build off of something there, like to kind of go back to New Nightmare to then bring it more into Scream. The thing that I don't like about New Nightmare the most is like, while this Freddy in the film is technically not Freddy, like it's some demon that's taking on the persona of Freddy, most of the kills in the movie are just retreads of the greatest hits from previous Nightmare on Elm Street entries. And the worst part is that some of the kills aren't even done better than the ones that were done in the original films. So it's like, why did you even try to do that? And then when you flash to Scream, there are like several prolonged, like direct references to Halloween, and Halloween is so like Scream essentially is like looking to that film as its North Star, as like everything that we know of horror today kind of stems through that, and you feel that like kind of public perception when people talk about horror and they specifically go to Halloween first always. It kind of seems like it's rooted in this film too, almost. And that's to say that like in Nightmare on Elm Street's New Nightmare, it's rooted in its own mythology, whereas Scream, it's like speaking about horror films like we already do, right? Like if we were to talk about horror movies, what's the most popular one? It's Halloween, and that's why it's so indebted to Scream, because in the real world it would have to be. So it's all of these things that are tying together, where it's not just a reference to filmmaking and the roots of genre, but it's also like reflecting an aspect of reality.
And it's so true, which is why I think the worst parts of this movie, we'll get into them later, are when it kind of betrays that a little bit. There's not a lot,
For
but
sure.
there are some where, like, that's not how that would happen. Like, everything else is like so it's so good, but that like there's some things that are like no, like that's just there because we need the audience to know something, or like to like okay, like no, it could have been done more gracefully.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, but going off of that, like the connection to Halloween, I mean, it's very overt. Like Jamie Kennedy straight up like watching it in the end, but like the theme that I remember hearing Carpenter talk about, like inspiration for that movie, is like just the notion of like the indifference of the suburbs trying to kill you, like or not trying to kill
Yes,
you. It's
yes.
just like it is killing you just by its inactivity, and that's like
Mhm.
present here. Of like you said, like all the adults don't give a shit about Sydney, or they're actively exploiting her, like Gail. So there's no one is there to help her, and she's completely the one person she thinks she could trust, her boyfriend. But I mean, spoilers for this 30-year-old movie, but she can't
Hey,
trust
it's
him.
29. Okay, how rude. Okay. But no, it's definitely and like we get that from the beginning too. Okay, like Drew Barrymore, obviously iconic in this movie for only like 5 minutes. A fantastic 5 minutes, honestly. But like she's all alone in like this house in the middle of nowhere, like miles from like the rest of the town. With nothing but like giant glass panes as doors everywhere. It just it I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm too much of a city mouse, but this would be like fucking terrifying to me on like on a given day. I have a cousin who lives in Jersey. Okay, he has a house like this, and when I stay over there, like to hang out or like for holidays, I'm like this. If someone came up here like a rock, we'd all be screwed. Okay,
It's not just the isolation, the design of the house is insane because it's so open, like that huge glass, like she's so exposed. Like of course
yes,
Ghostface can thrive in the small community because no one's expecting this kind of brutality. But like the fact that like the curtains are wide open, you can just see right into her home. Like there is nothing. Like
he's very
she
vulnerable, very
turns that
intimate,
little lock, like that's gonna do something. It's like, okay, there's glass there. He can just break that.
and he does.
Yeah.
He throws a patio chair through the window. It's insane.
The thing for me that I find interesting, if we're going to talk about this film from kind of like a metatextual standpoint, right? Because we haven't expressed this yet in like a definitive way, but like Scream came out at a time where horror movies were at an all-time low. Like 80s, it was booming.
Yes.
And then like the early 90s, there was a real stagnant period where it just did not do well at the box office. And just, there was nothing good being made really. Like there's definitely, if you go back and you find some stuff like from the early 90s, there's going to be some huge hits, but there's some that you would even look at like Silence of the Lambs and you're like, that's not really a horror movie, right? So for what the way I read like this opening scene and the whole film really is that like this is a movie where like the regular people have forgotten the horror stories, and the people who have held on to them still have like unfortunately grown a horrible obsession with them and have taken it to violent ends. Like you could talk about like the whole idea of like, do violent things make you do violent stuff? that was very popular at the time, and this movie kind of feeds into that in a reactionary way. But that's also just a part of the genre, anyways. But this is all to say that like the opening of this movie is the classic like call is coming from inside the house thing.
Yeah.
It has roots in like urban legends rather than like even horror movies. And the fact that like this person is in this position and they're making every single mistake, but they're still deeply felt. Like you believe in Drew Barrymore's humanity, but she's doing all the wrong things, not in a cliche way, but just because she doesn't expect to actually be in this position.
And she does such a good job in these 10 minutes that you really feel that loss. I mean, like even knowing that she's not gonna make it, I can't imagine how crazy that would be. Because I've seen the trailer where they like put her name like next to all the other stars, like she's like in the whole thing. But even knowing she's not going to make it, you still keep thinking through the sequence like it's like okay, she's just stabbed in the shoulder. Maybe she's
Yeah.
gonna get away, like and you want to root, you want her, even though she's making these mistakes, she's like, oh well, her parents are right there. It just feels like it's within reach that she can do it. And
Yeah.
as you're like, come on, you can do it.
Like, if she had just waited like 15 seconds more at the door, she would have made it, So she went back around the long way around of the house. And then that, parents are right there. It's like a straight line. My God.
I have to say, like I'm not sure how big of a Drew Barrymore fan you guys are. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but this might be her best performance. Honestly,
I do love the fever pitch,
I mean, I love Wedding Singer, but you might be right in terms of I really she feels like a real person there. Like in Wedding Singer, she's Drew Barrymore,
But she had to pretend to be in love with Jimmy Fallon. Soulless, demonic being Jimmy Fallon. Looks wax figure. So.
That's good acting. I heard in the commentary that Craven was saying in order to get like those like really intense like crying from her, she had read it in the newspaper about like a pet owner like lighting his dog on fire. So like to trigger her crying about it, he would just be like, "I'm going to get the lighter," and then she would start crying.
Oh my God!
Jesus Christ.
That's the Craven touch. That's what you hire him for. My favorite bit from her is when she's yelling at Ghostface and she's like, I've got a boyfriend and he's in the football team and he's really big and he's gonna kick your butt. Like the way that she goes off on him in that moment, I loved it.
It's a great moment, but I keep laughing because I keep on thinking about the Carmen Electra version of that scene. That's Michael Jackson. Oh my God, it's so crazy.
Unavoidable with Scary Movie at this point.
Yeah, no, because they are tethered together. They are. It's like how it's very rare, or not too rare, I don't think actually, but to see like such direct comparison between a movie and its own parody. But the thing about that, I'll bring it up. Scary Movie, just like I do want to make this point. People sometimes poo-poo Scary Movie, and the movie does not have 100% batting average. It's not aged gracefully. I still dig it, but it hasn't aged gracefully. They're like, oh, it's so stupid to make a parody of a movie that was already a parody. But like, I don't know, like Scream uses the trappings of the slasher drama for humor because it knows the audience understands what those cliches are. But I don't know if that's the same as calling Scream a parody, because I don't know. I think it's just more aware and more intelligent about the story it's writing. So I always thought that critique of Scream Movie was really dumb.
Yeah, it has humor in it, but I don't consider Scream. Well, Scream 3 is a comedy, but like otherwise, like I don't consider like they're horror movies that are self-aware and have like wittiness to them. But so yeah, there's plenty of room for comedic escalation. It's just like you said, especially like for Wayne's Brothers stuff, like some stuff doesn't age as well. But I saw the parody before seeing it. Like getting into Scream was like fairly recent, like with like 5 years ago, maybe I binged all of them, but like I did not, I didn't see them when they came out. And then I was just a late convert just to horror in general. But like, yeah, I saw the parody of version first before Scream.
I think that only makes sense, really. But like, just to kind of go to the conversation about Scream being a parody, I don't think it is. I think that the main classification it needs is like reflexive. It's a reflexive slasher film, and there are other examples of this. You know, like the In a Violent Nature is a reflexive slasher film as well. It's using the genre trappings to dig into something that's deeper on a thematic level. It doesn't exist outside of the genre. It exists within it to comment upon it. Like Wake Up Dead Man, I would honestly say that the recent Knives Out movie, that's a reflective murder mystery film, a reflexive, I should say. But with the Scary Movie impact with it, I feel like Scream does such a good job in illustrating its beats by having like clearly defined rules, which all the best horror movies for mass audiences do. And then what Scary Movie does is it just takes those rules and then finds ways to like turn them into jokes, which is a pretty easy thing to do. You just because like what is a rule but like a setup, right? You just then create a punchline to each of the rules, and by doing that, Scary Movie can not just comment upon Scream itself, which is already its own cultural landmark, but it can also comment upon every single horror movie and whatever horror movie at the time it comments upon.
And
what's
just random
interesting,
culture at the time, because they would just
for
make fun
sure,
of like commercial Budweiser commercials, like it's like that's the stuff where people watch it now. I'm sure they're like, "What the fuck is
Hey, to be
this?"
fair, people say that about Scream too, but you don't need to know what that Nike ad was to find that scene where they dance with the
I
basketball
I
funny.
love that scene.
I've never seen that.
Awesome.
I've never seen that Nike ad in my
I
life.
looked it up later in life, and I was like, okay, I'm still gonna watch the Scary Movie version.
What's up? Yeah. Hello.
What's
Yeah.
up?
What's up? All right. Why are we talking about Scream with this much?
It's important.
It is.
I'd honestly say that like Scary Movie being as successful as it was too also mythologized Scream even more. I feel like
Right.
because
They
like
boost each
'cause-
other.
exactly, it's like a rising tide lifts all boats, right? It's a situation where people were so obsessed with Scream, they watched Scream, and then Scary Movie comes out, which is parodying Scream. So of course they watch that. Like it just makes sense. And then at that point, it's bigger than just a moment. Like you've engaged the entire horror watching community, not just and then beyond that, you've also engaged the comedic watching viewing. So you're crossing a lot of X's there. You've pretty much won over the entire general public, which is a great way to kind of set up a new franchise, which is obviously what happens with Scream, but that's an entirely different subject. But to bring it back to the movie itself, what I find interesting is like, yes, the meta commentary stuff is there, but I would even say that like the Halloween tributes are more frequent even. Like this movie is more about like what the absence of, security and like proper, protection looks like within a suburban scenario. It's about like how suburbia has lost its way in terms of like keeping itself safe, and this is what happens when trouble brews within itself. That's the way I take it, at least. I don't view it as much as this giant commentary, but it certainly still is.
I think it can do both, but like you said, it is continuing that theme and that conversation from Halloween, because original Halloween ends with Michael Myers gets up after getting shot and then he's gone, and Dr. Loomis saying like he could be anywhere, and then you're seeing all these different places, and so Scream is saying Ghostface could be anyone. Like the power of it being a masked killer is like, what if Michael Myers could be like your classmate? Like you don't, and you didn't know, and how terrifying that would be. Like you can never really trust or know another person, and that's like it's such an obvious thing. But like before I went into the movies, I didn't even consider like, oh yeah, like they are kind of murder mysteries. I mean, like the movies kind of vary in terms of like how good the reveals are of who the killer are, like if they leave like you know breadcrumbs that allow you to get there. But I think they're still fun in the moment, even if the reveals never don't always land in each one. Like I enjoy the ride of being like, yeah, who is under that mask?
Well, it's important that we drill into this too, because like the roots of slasher films themselves is in murder mysteries. Like people would consider Agatha Christie back in like the 40s a brand of horror, right? So like the lineage of what people find scary is rooted not even just in like the slashings themselves, but in the whodunit of it all. And the idea of slashers, even in like 80s in particular, the question always was who's under that mask. Let's learn more about the killer if we get more sequels. And this movie, in its inception, in what makes the franchise itself larger, interesting, is that who's under the mask really doesn't matter. Like you said, Doug, like it is something that's bubbling up inside multiple people. It's within signals that they catch from things that they've intercepted. And the kind of round out my point, what I do find interesting is that even though there's so much Halloween worship, like structurally, this film shares so much in common with Black Christmas. The idea that it's like from inside the house with all of these calls that and the voice changing, all of that stuff. Like I'm sure that we could make all those comparisons to that film as clearly as you could with Halloween.
They should have had some POV kills in this.
Honestly, that's what I'm saying. Like put Ghostface on a rocking chair.
But let's see here. Talking about just sort of how it could be anyone. I think that one of the best things about Ghostface, and this is something that the sequels play a lot more touch and go with, is his physicality. Like not just like the brutality of things, but also just the choreography of how he moves his body. Like in that scene of Drew Barrymore, because we're still in Drew Barrymore scene, like he's stumbling, he's tripping, he's sliding, he's fumbling. It's amazing. It's such all these minute touches that make him feel like just like a real kind of threat. Not like oh, it's like Michael Myers or Freddy. Like they are well, not Freddy. Freddy in the good ones, he's fumbling like this too. But like, there is a monolithic kind of like stature to them. Like they're just coming at you. But like, Ghostface, I think it also helps with the suspense is that you feel like you could get away from him because he is not like this invulnerable, impenetrable kind of super cool killer. He's just a guy in a robe that doesn't know how to walk in a robe.
Mm-hmm. Well, to put a finer point on it too, it's like two teenage guys, right? And they act like teenage guys, where it's like they can certainly take a beating, right? But they do have endurance. They're not the fastest, but they're still going to keep coming, right? So like having Ghostface even like do flips in this movie. There's a scene where he does like a backflip after like falling off over some stairs because somebody's bent over. And like it is comedic in itself, and it's also again the perfect thing for scary movie to mine in its own sequences. But again, to bring it back to this, Scream is so much about like rooting it in some sense of reality, even if like the dynamics of these characters is so heightened.
Yeah, well said. I want to shout out Dane Farwell, who's like they have a whole stunt team, but he was like probably the main guy doing the physicality of Ghostface in this one, and I think in 4. I don't know if in the sequels they had some other, because it's rarely the people who are actually playing the ghost face like in the costume, which I think adds to this feeling of like, yeah, it could be anybody. Like you're almost transformed by putting on the mask. You just become someone different. But like he came up with some of the physicality, is like some of that stuff is not in the script, and Dane Farwell, this like the knife wipe stuff, like it's just like things that Craven credits him with coming up with.
That's really cool. It is. But also, my God, it's so funny that Steve Orff, Drew Barrymore's character's boyfriend, he's kind of a non-entity in this. Like, I'm not saying he's not an impact, but I think his greatest legacy is that he was set up for a better sequence in 4. Like, oh yeah, that guy. So poor Steve Orff.
Good for him. Glad he got something.
Anyway, so Drew Barrymore scene, that shot, of Drew Barrymore in the tree is gotta be, I think, one of Craven's most gruesome shots. It is pure like Halloween house horrific. Like it is awful. Like that, she's hanging from the noose. She's got like her guts trailing down below her. It's
gnarly.
No wonder they demanded cuts to this movie. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
And
like
the fact that sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say all the ways they had to tweak it to avoid the NC-17, like little uh bits of gore taking out, but also I think on the zoom in on her like hanging from the tree, like they just speed up the frame rate, so it's like you're seeing it for a shorter amount of time. Like that slips it by the sensor, I guess.
And I also love that when you first see it, it's kind of in a wide as well. And I just always love that kind of framing when you get something really
It was
grotesque. Because
Japanese.
yeah, well, there's that for sure, right? Where it's like you're kind of searching within the frame for it, right? And there's an atmosphere to it. But then also like think like when we're watching a horror movie, right? Like when we're watching like these close-ups on people getting stabbed, like we're no longer watching somebody's like literal perspective. We're watching like in the moment emotional perspective. When you get a wide shot like this and you're seeing the horror and it's in the distance like that, there's something really grounded about that, and that's something that's consistent with this film. Even when the kills get more ridiculous, there seems to be an internal logic that goes beyond what you usually find in a slasher from earlier decades, where it would just be like, let's take a sledgehammer and see how many bones we can break in this dummy. This time it's like, okay, what's in a home and how can we kind of upend the way that it's been portrayed in a horror film before.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like all the set pieces I'm thinking of, like people do get killed outside of homes, but it is mostly like the inversion of the safety of not just the suburbs, but the home itself is not even a safe place. It's like all these people are being killed in their homes at night.
Well, again, I think that goes to what Craven likes about like the concept is in general. Like, people under the stairs, he liked full, you know, finding ways around the house, finding things that could help him. So it kind of he likes the inventiveness of a situation. So I think that really says to that more or less about how Ghostface and especially like the heroines here use the environment a lot more directly, a lot more tactically. So I think that's really really fun, and also something that carries forward from Nightmare on Elm Street, because Heather Langenkamp's character is definitely doing some Home Alone stuff in that movie
Oh,
at the end.
absolutely.
So I think that the part is brutal and how horrific some of these things gets in this movie. I think that there is a very fun-loving kind of wiliness or charmed nature about it because of Craven's kind of enthusiasm about these kinds of things.
There's still a sense of humor, and there's
Mhm.
one particular film that we need to call attention to, specifically in context with the Drew Barrymore scene. This movie has a lot in common with Psycho, even
Yes.
to the
Hmm.
point where it's even quoted like specifically. And this whole Drew Barrymore thing is like it's obviously a cold open. We've seen that a million times, but there's also a degree where we're like, oh, we've seen Drew Barrymore in the poster. She's a big star. We're expecting her to be throughout the entire film, as I think you said, Doug. And the thing is that the fact that we get her killed up front, that's a shock in itself. But then also the fact that it's this question of who did it within this environment, and there is this grounded reality of how these kills are taken out. And as you were saying, Elvis, there's like a wily nature to this. Like Wes
Mhm.
Craven is certainly evoking Hitchcock. Like Hitchcock embodied all of these elements as well, because he certainly was a little stinker, and Wes Craven's being a little stinker here too.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
All right. No, 100%. And let's move ahead to the next scene, where we get, Nev Campbell as Sydney Prescott. Is that her name? Or am I thinking of a scary movie again?
I think you like mixed in my mind, but it's Sydney Prescott, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I never even try to attempt to remember horror protagonists' names, to be quite honest, because I know they're going to get killed off. I'm like,
Let's say it. So,
why do I
so
need to know?
let's just say Sydney. Okay, let's remember the
yeah.
last name for later. And she is in her room, and what's it called? Skeet Ulrich,
Oh,
right?
ski, 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 ski.
They have their
See,
heart to
that's
heart
that.
where Skeet Ulrich like starts his running theme this movie of being the most incel MGTOW monster
Why won't you
possible.
fuck me?
Yeah, I
Come
know, right?
on.
Oh,
Yeah.
like, well, come on. I'm not trying to rush you, but like, what are you teasing? Are you a tease? My God, like this, I do not believe for 1 second that he ever that he didn't die a virgin until the very end. Okay.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think
we'll get
that
to
much is
the
relatable.
the other stuff they do with his character later, but within this movie, I agree with that. He just very desperately wants to get laid. He's never had sex.
He's a proto incel, which I think again, it's one of the things that it's a kind of through line a little bit throughout the films, at least until like I think 5 at least, even that there is this kind of commentary about like how men see women. I think there's
I
one.
was going to build off of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that,
we got to bring up Columbine, right?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's unavoidable.
Take it away.
like not to steal what you're going for, Elvis, but at the same time, it's like I feel like that's something that was around the film as well, because if I'm not mistaken, this is pre-Columbine, so this movie's kind of like tapping into something before it even existed.
Yeah,
And to talk about the incel nature of the character, like the the whole slasher movie mythology that him and Lillard, we definitely need to do like 20 minutes on him, but like the way that like they are interacting with the world is they're using horror movies as like their Bible. And while like they have like some kind of internal logic where they're like, oh, she needs to sleep with us so then we can kill her off because slashers. But the reality is he just wants to fuck her, right? And the best part of the scene for me is that we get this acoustic cover of "Don't Fear the Reaper,"
Mm-hmm.
ba 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 ba, Halloween, and also my dearly beloved Stephen King's The Stand TV adaptation.
and Halloween ends.
And Halloween ends. The thing is that like that song is very important. It's telling us immediately that this is the killer, but then it's also very tragic for Sydney because it's like don't fear the Reaper, but like it's also in the context of she's with the Reaper, right? It's a very like metatextual thing where her virginity and her way of moving through the world as somebody who's autonomous with their sexuality. She wants to save it for the right person. She wants to be in love, right? And when we get this cover of Don't Fear the Reaper, it's very romantic. If you weren't listening to the lyrics, you may confuse it with a different song. So the fact that it is this kind of mood and has the sinister undertone to it, like Wes Craven is telling you very early on what his intentions are.
Oh, 100%. Like this movie does not, I guess there is a whodunit mystery, but like I always thought like, oh, she's too obvious. I don't know. I think he's just obvious enough. I don't know. Like there's never anyone that's in like serious consideration. Like, oh, could it be her dad?
Well,
No.
why
would it be her dad?
moments where he was like with someone, and then because I'd never considered there would be another kill. So like if a kill was happening while he was like with her or something, I was like, oh well, he can't be in two places at once. So wait, how's Billy doing this? Because I still thought it was him, but I was like, what the fuck, Billy?
How is he doing this? That'd be so funny if he did do it by himself. And it's like Rube Goldberg-esque design somewhere else. Like,
this guy is fast, like inhumanly.
It's about like Cutting Class, where that guy's like, have you seen Cutting Class, that Brad Pitt one?
Oh, I never saw that one. No.
So, do you mind if I spoil the ending?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think I'm going to watch it.
So the killer is like, I want to kill not only like when I'm with someone, but in the future when I'm not with them. And then they kill him, and at the end of the movie, like, wait, what did he mean by that in the future? And then it turns out that he had incapacity. Well, it was a running gag where the principal from Spirited Teenage Witch, Martin Mull, he's the main heroine's father. He gets attacked and left for dead in the forest, and the killer, the guy, did it, and then he doesn't kill him. But the guy spends the entire movie kind of wandering back out of the forest, and then it turns out that but somehow the killer had set it up so that the guy would walk out of the forest at the same time that his daughter and Brad Pitt's character, the hero, are passing right by the curve of the road this is happening. So like, oh, well, he planned it so that they would hit the dad, and like, but they stopped it in time. Like, that's so stupid. That's so stupid. So like, it would be funny to see if Billy had done something like that, if he did it by himself.
That's funny.
I think the most interesting thing about the Skeet Ulrich character is how he is ultimately guilty, and he's a character that at every turn Sydney is being warned about, right? Like everyone's like, like he's the guy, like trust me, he did it, right? And she's like, no, he couldn't have done it, right?
Except for Tatum, We should have. Oh my god, Tatum sucks. She sucks.
Certainly their own problems going on there, but the underlying thing that I find interesting is that, you know, it's kind of like, you know, young love, right? When you're in high school, right? Like, oh, don't be with that person, of course you're going to be with that person, right? And this film is showing you, like, no, like, the people who are in your life, they care about you. There's a reason that they're, you know, looking out for you, right? It's why Scream isn't just like a pastiche of, you know, slasher films. It's also like creating its own meaning and new meaning from it, right? And Skeet Ulrich and Sydney's character, the way that they, you know, have that connection, I think it's one of the more interesting dramatic tensions in the film. Even though we know where it's going, even from the first watch, you know, it's a very tragic love story feel to it. I think it's always compelling.
I like the choice of when he's sneaking back out her bedroom and she flashes him. We don't see there's no reverse shot to show it. And I don't know if that was just I mean cuz the censorship they had to do was mostly for the gore, so that was like intentional on Craven's part of like we're not going to be titillating with Sydney. I mean, it's not like you can't respect a heroine who has been sexualized, but it kind of maintains like an innocence for her.
But it's also of her fruition, right? It's like
Yeah.
this guy's been going like, oh, hey, let me like sleep with you this entire time. She's like, no, like leave, go out my window. And then she's like, no, I'm going to show you my boobs because I want you. I want to, right? I feel like that itself is its own empowering thing for her in that moment where she's saying like, hey, I'm interested in you, but I just don't know if now is the right time, right? And I think that that's an interesting beat where it's like she sees a humanity in him, which makes him ultimately being the killer all the more tragic.
Like she's not a prude, like she's not against the idea of like being sexual. So like it's
For
like I
sure.
feel like she's indicating that to him of like, no, that's on the table. We're just like not tonight.
Which is why I think makes it more tragic. Jumping ahead a bit, where like like you can tell his influence on her is coming at an emotional cost. Like it is very insidious and very manipulative. That even if you don't see it like at the forefront, and it's kind of obvious at the forefront, but even if you don't see it overtly, and he's going through the motions of being a, you know, caring, understanding, patient boyfriend, the chipping away at her is harming her self-esteem, her self-image. Because there's a part in the movie where like this is like one of the worst things I heard in my life, and I think it's meant to be intentional, but some other aspects of the movie, like, is it meant to be? I don't know. But she calls herself sexually anorexic, and I'm like, my God,
Whoa.
Billy sucks
Yeah.
as a human being. Like,
Well,
even outside the killing, he just sucks.
Yeah,
Well, like
no
I
good.
think it's also interesting to point out, like this is like a year's planned plot from them, right? So it's like she's been manipulated for a very long time, and for us, it's like if we're going into this movie like brand new, right? Like she is not aware of that at all, right? So for her, her guard is completely down. It's only that her guard goes up further and further throughout this film that she's able to see the truth.
When do we first hear about Sydney's mom? I just watched it, but I already forget like the order the scenes is happen in. But is it like after this like school scene or like I feel like it's on TV
It's
that
at the
they talk
beginning of the
about.
school scene. It's at the beginning of the
Yeah.
school scene. We're like, it's been 1 year since the tragic murder. You know, all of the all the reporters, and Tatum's like, you know, it's been the worst since, you know, but you know, it's been the worst since then. So I guess it's on TV when we get the full breakdown, but you know, it's very clear that some sort of thing happened with Sydney um, before this, and
Uncle Ben got killed by a mugger. It was fucked up.
we only
I
saw
missed the
Sydney
part where
Prescott.
that's my problem.
We only see Sydney's mom's luggage, and we know exactly what's going on.
Well, that's the MCU version. Yeah.
There's no need for more. But
Just something I wanted to call it from that montage specifically. I just really love that they used Nick Cave in the Bad Seeds Red Right Hand in this movie, the way it's deployed, and it kind of becomes this film's Don't Fear the Reaper. I just love that.
It
I just
becomes
wanted
like
to
the
throw that out
theme
there.
song for the franchise, which
at
they
least the first
use.
three. At least the first
Mhm.
three.
Yeah, in 4 or 5, do they bring it back? I think 5 maybe they bring it back, but like it's never as good as like it wasn't used in this with that intention of like this is gonna be the Scream song like that we
No,
use
yeah,
in all
I'm
of
just
them.
talking about it like in this context.
No,
Yeah,
no,
no.
I wasn't saying you are, but I think it's funny of like these things that end up being iconic that they're like now we need to repeat this guy, like similar to the knife wipe that Ghostface does. Like that's just something a stuntman came up with. Now it's like no, he has to do that in every movie.
He has to do it twice in the worst one.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I was so bad. Oh my gosh, my face melted watching that part, but we'll get to it in like 5 weeks. Anyway, um, so Henry Winkler is the principal, and he's delightful.
Round of applause.
Yeah, he's
Finds
like
himself.
Principal Himbry, so good. But so not much happens other than just setting the mood, setting the stage, and then and it's really well done. We get the whole, let's see here, Mr. Sandman sequence of like all the report. We see Gale. We get a brief overview of Dewey. All the major players, more or less, except for Matthew Lillard, who isn't introduced until the very next scene, which is the iconic waterfall scene, which they actually recreated for 4, but they never released the scene, the deleted scene. But whatever.
Just before we move on from the reporters,
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to say that like this movie also, I feel ahead of its time. It's making commentary upon like true crime reporting, because like in the early to like mid 90s, that's when we really started getting a lot more like at home like crime reporting, as well as like
sensationalization of like these horrific things.
Yes, and I'm thinking like specifically things like Dateline. I'm thinking like like a 2020, right? Like a lot of these American shows that were about like unsolved crimes or about like oddities, things like that, right? And like up until Scream, I don't think that like there had been like some kind of like true crime or like the way that the media talks about it, commentary, the same way that this movie approaches it. And I feel like many movies are in the shadow of Scream in this particular aspect.
No, I totally agree. It kind of cuts to the bone, even if Gail ends up being like a sympathetic character. The fact that she is kind of digging into it is very much like an antagonistic, kind of really imperiling kind of thing for Sydney, because Sydney is dealing with so much that this is like a direct attack on her mental stability, emotional stability. It is a horrific thing to dredge up. It's all about that kind of traumatic response to her. And no, I think that really does capture, even now it's still shockingly and saddeningly relevant.
And something as well is that like you know this obsession with these narratives in this movie, the way that they show with the news reporter and all that, it's meant to mirror Halloween and the way that these kids are interacting with these things. And it's because like the news is for the adults that to watch on the TV, and the movies is for the kids to watch on TV, right? And it's from the same source and they bleed together, right? It's that like Halloween, it's something that it's a fiction, it's a children's story at the end of the day, right? But it's based in some kind of reality, right? And that's what this film's kind of getting at in some way. And I think that when we bring in that added layer of like Columbine, incelly kids, I think it makes it all the more textured. I think it actually lends itself really well to being a very astute commentary.
Oh, completely. What about you, Doug?
I was just thinking about this waterfall scene that like you said, I didn't even know they recreated for 4. That sucks that footage is not available to be seen, but Stu is incredible. I mean, Matthew Willard, he's like the MVP of the movie, right?
It is the most
Still
outrageous
special
performance. It's an outrageous performance, and it works. Every single thing he says works. It's amazing.
Because he's like too absurd, and Luke, you're like, there's not a guy who's like this, but there definitely there's a guy like any single configuration of person. So like there definitely is a guy who is like that.
Well, I feel like he's like of the two killers. Yeah, I feel like he's the friend who's like just wants a friend, and like bought into this thing too much, right? And when he's hanging out with everybody else, he feels like the really annoying one, right? Like the one that
Or
nobody
does
really
he
wants
want
to be
more
around.
than a friend? What do you think of the read that like he's in love with Billy?
Oh, I buy that 100%.
100%.
But before we get into even any of that, like, can we just like talk about Matthew Lillard? I feel like that's an actor who just needs examination a bit, because I feel like, especially how he exists right now, he's kind of trying to do like the Brendan Fraser like feel sad for me kind of thing,
Like,
while
I'm
also
back.
trying. Yeah, Doug, the way you said that was perfect. That's exactly his. That's the way he
Thinking
is.
I'm
He's
back.
like, he's not. I'm back. I'm back. Like, and that's the entire like reason for him to be an actor.
Even though
I
he
feel
never
almost
left,
now.
he's been voicing Shaggy for like 20, 30 years or something. He's been working nonstop, so he never left.
It's not like he had any kind of like traumatic experience that he's been.
That we know of. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Who's to say, right? We can't say.
Well, he needs to be more than FNAF movies to gain my respect. But I'll say, 13 Ghosts is a classic. He's great in it.
13 Ghosts is a classic. That's a great movie. Tony Shalhoub, great movie.
Yeah.
Also, his like couple episodes of Twin Peaks: The Return, he's fucking phenomenal.
Those are really good. I know. I think about the thing about his scenes, and they're really great. Is I keep thinking about this stupid new Rockstars video I saw when that show was first coming out, and like they're talking about he's like the new Leland, and like kill me, the way they said it.
Whoa.
Jeez. Did you guys ever see the movie?
Mikhail.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
You made it. So we're talking about the waterfall scene and Matthew Lillard. Knock on wood. So what's your favorite scary movie? Just first off.
My favorite screen. Hold on. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes. What's your favorite scary movie? Come on.
I think it's actually still the first one. Like, really, because I look. So I've seen the first three. I remember being a really big fan at the time. Then I think it's like, well, it took them a while to get to the fourth one, right? So
best one, yes.
Yeah, and I think by that time I just kind of gravitated out of it a little. And I saw parts of 4. I'm not even sure if I've seen it entirely. I've seen.
You got it. It's well worth it, man. It's amazing.
No, I mean, yeah, that's the impression I'm getting. Like, I think, like, in hindsight, people are saying, "Oh, wait a minute, this was actually like kind of a masterpiece." But people,
I was saying at the time, yeah, like, yeah, this is the best one. I was saying at the time, like,
yeah. And I think I maybe saw the 5th one. Okay, I'm not even sure. I don't quite recall. I vaguely have a recollection of that. So I think I saw 5 or maybe I saw it in parts, right? And so I'm kind of aware of 6, and maybe I maybe even saw an episode or 2 of the television show. But yeah. So I still think the first one was the best one. I think I actually like number 3 because it was like a bit more. I don't know, like, it has a Jay and Silent Bob cameo.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun, Yeah, but like I think the first one is still. It's hard to match the originality of that, right? Because when it came out, I think it was really part of the reason why it worked as well as it did was because that was sort of the decade when postmodern movies, like all of these really self-aware, self-reflexive meta movies about other movies, really started to take off. Like I think Wes Craven did New Nightmare. Yeah. What was it, like 93 or something? And then Tarantino came out with Pulp Fiction in 94. And then
I was good. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Yes. Go ahead. Sorry. Tarantino's very important to this conversation.
Yeah. So so you had all these filmmakers who were like more kind of self-aware, self-reflect, like the movie Bratz or whatever. I think Kevin Smith even falls into that. And I although I will say, I think Fright Night was a real precursor to that. I think it was like 89 or something.
It's all coming back around. Fright Night, I knew it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's pivotal text.
So basically, Scream, I think, was really just it really arrived at the exact right time, right? Like slasher movies had been kind of almost dead that decade. All the big franchises had sort of ended, quote unquote, right? And suddenly now you had this like really cool slasher movie about slasher movies coming out. right? Like with all this, like with all this energy and all this, I don't know. It's hard to match, I think, just the power that it had at the time. I mean, I remember it was like everywhere. It was like even after theaters, it was really big on video, right? Like, and then they made Scream 2, what, just like 1 year later?
Yeah,
Right?
it was a super fast turnaround.
But they had they had the sets ready for the scary movie, so it all worked out. Anyway, so we were talking about Matthew Lillard and whether or not he's gay in this movie. What do you think?
Oh,
let's get to serious. Let's get to the truth.
I don't know. I remember that was like kind of a. I remember Scary Movie like did a whole. It had like a whole meta level of jokiness just about that. Like they were.
Yes, it did.
But maybe it's way. I think it's ambiguous there. But like like if you think about it, like all of the all of the looks and everything that he kind of gives to Billy Loomis, and like
he's wearing a necklace, a chain necklace.
Yes.
It's sign number 2.
Yeah, so you can totally read that into it, which is why it would be really weird if it turned out that he was also somehow like a father or something. I think that's the rumor now for the 7th one.
Oh
God!
Oh my God! We're get to that. We'll see what happens.
You're telling me that he had sex with somebody else? Like, I just don't believe that.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that any. I know that Stu definitely had sex with Tatum. I don't believe that any of the other guys had sex with anyone else ever.
Even the stuff with Sydney's mom, we'll get to that. I'm like, how?
I feel like that was mostly, but that was mostly just Cotton, I believe. I think that you got you.
Something to go with like the kind of like reads about Lillard's sexuality with the two of them. Like we've already brought up Columbine a couple of times, right? And this idea that like, when these people are pushed to these extremes, there is that question of like, are they just in love with each other? Like we've seen that with these kinds of like extreme, situations, mass shootings, what have you. And I feel like this movie is echoing that before it even happens, which is very interesting. Not saying that, Wes Craven entirely intended that, but it doesn't even matter. The fact that it can be read that way, that's what makes it true.
He was just upset that the Gay Nightmare on Elm Street wasn't the one that he made. So he's like, you know what?
I would be too. I would be too. That's an amazing movie.
It is. It's a fantastic masterpiece. I love it. It's my second favorite.
Doug, you haven't seen that one, right?
No, I just know. I was told that
it's great.
Listened to people who were like, "Oh, it's bad," but then I heard it was gay. I was like, "Why did you tell me to skip it? That sounds good."
It's because they're homophobic.
It is one. It's it is a better bisexual fable than Fight Club. It's so good.
Oh.
I don't think it's bisexual. I think it's a gay movie, and it's ultimately a tragedy.
But anyway, so. Yeah, no, it's there is a psychosexual nature to all of this. They killed Drew Barrymore, who was Stu's ex-girlfriend. There is a kind of the evil that men do to women kind of aspect of it that is like the undercurrent. Like when they get to Sydney, like obviously she willingly has sex with Billy, but like what is the implication there? Like what is the undercurrent that underneath their relationship? And it is like this real kind of physical like subconscious threat to things. I think that really kind of propels things forward a little bit.
I mean, I don't know. I think the whole, you have sex, you die thing, like which the movie completely, right? Like, I mean, I just love how that becomes like a whole thing in and of itself in the movie. Like that to me is enough motivation like for everything, you know what I'm saying? Like because that really is a thing. It was like, yeah, people get punished for having like premarital sex,
yeah,
right?
but like
drugs, like whatever,
yeah, but I feel like the way that Billy is kind of excuse for that is because he thinks of Sid's mom as like this slut that ruined his family. So he's like he's taking a kind of misogynist, a more intentional. It's commentating on the misogyny of that trope. You know,
Well,
by
Like,
having Billy
it's
be a
not
huge
his
misogynist.
dad's fault that he
It's
had
the
an
woman's
affair.
fault.
It's that whore.
Like,
Yeah.
and also like by getting Sydney to have sex, like, oh, see, she has sex too. She's not an innocent one.
She's just like her mom.
Exactly.
we're talking about reactionary conservatism, right? And
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
the roots of like horror, urban legends, and all of that have some kind of reactionary tinge to them.
Mhm.
But I think that Wes Craven, specifically as a filmmaker, time and time again proved that he was far more progressive than even
Yeah.
some of his other contemporaries.
So-
So I think that what Wes Craven's doing here is he's commenting upon these things. I think he's
Yeah.
very aware of this. As an audience, we're meant to see the absurdity of this, but then also understand that like there's a reason why these things persist within these communities, because there's an there's an otherness that comes within like insulated communities, how people talk about one another when their backs are turned, etc. And I think the movie's always tapping into that.
Yeah, 100%. Like Billy is misogynist. You know, he is a misogynistic character. So like it's meant to be like I think it's really clever actually. And I know it's on a remake that it is using him as the mouthpiece for these cliches, because the cliches themselves are very stereotypical, are very biased. You know, they're not very forward thinking, or they don't have a lot of deference to the variety of characters, you know, female characters in horror in general too. And I think that is a very clever thing. And it does give this a lot more texture. It gives a lot more of a substance to it. It is a slasher, but it's when you watch it, you kind of get drawn to these characters because they feel fully developed and fleshed out because of things like this, because of choices like this.
I will say though, I'm curious. Do we consider Scream as a whole, or at least like the original movies? Do we consider them to be, authorship wise, to be the works of Wes Craven or Kevin Williamson?
I think both.
Both, because I think
yeah.
that the two best ones were when they were like in simpatico.
I think that like Scream couldn't happen without a horror master at the helm, because it is like a horror master commenting upon the genre, right? And I'm not saying Wes Craven, asserted himself as a master. I'm saying that just like reflecting upon how Scream has done, right? As well as just all the rest of Wes Craven's work and how it stood up post his death, right? The thing is that like Kevin Williamson, the screenplay shares a lot in common with, as we've already discussed, New Nightmare. You can just say that like they're commenting upon the same things, but also Wes Craven is a key part of this, collaboration, and ultimately, like Wes Craven himself, he has his own feelings and thoughts as being a horror filmmaker for over 2 decades at this point in his career. And like something we touched on before you hopped on the call was something about how like in New Nightmare, like we saw like the evolution of horror cons, right? So it's like I feel like there's kind of this like rectifying with horror as a genre in a space in a suburban community that goes beyond just like our traditional like, let's put a tape in this thing. We're also talking about like society itself, and you can't have that kind of perspective without also having somebody who's had decades of experience doing that. That's my opinion. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, I think you need both pieces to get it where it is. Because Williamson's script, I mean, it's a good script, but like I don't want to overly glaze the guy, because I think without Craven, I mean, we'll see in a couple months, but I think
what if it's the best one? You don't know. How can you comment if you don't know? It could be the best one.
Maybe he's the best director of all time. I don't know.
It could happen,
Red Eye fans, clock in right now. We need you more than
Red
now,
Eye was
more
pretty
than ever.
cool. I have to say.
Great movie.
Red Eye rocks.
I like the part when Cillian Murphy gets stabbed in the neck with the pen.
And then he gets all raspy. He's like, ah.
I love it when he takes out that giant nuclear bazooka at the end and like, oh wait, is this the same movie that we've been seeing for the last 80 minutes?
I love the part where like I think they had a doctor even say, oh yeah, it missed like any vital artery or whatever, which is why he's still alive with the pen inside his neck.
She just got really extremely unlucky, 9 times out of 10, that's a kill shot.
It's so good though. But how else would we get like the house as an environment again? How else would we get
it
that?
all goes back to the home.
Yeah. Craven loves it.
Like, not to skip ahead too much, but my favorite kill in this movie is the garage door.
Oh God, yes.
So gnarly. Yeah.
That one shot we get of the head just like crumbling is probably one of my favorite shots in the whole movie.
I mean, I think like the inventiveness of it, right? Like the just, I mean, it's one thing for the guy to just like stab you, right? But like Ghostface in this movie, he finds like really inventive ways of dispatching people, right? Like, but that one has to be like just, I mean, it's just a great gag, right? Like, I mean, and I remember it was also the highlight of Scary Movie. I mean, the way
it's pretty good.
Yeah, that was just like amazing. That was like
because
like the high point of of just like laughter for me for that one.
I mean, even Scream 4 comments again on it. So like it's a very well known scene because it is like it's funny, but also like what else are you doing in that situation? How desperate are you in this situation? It's like a proto Saw thing. Like are you gonna try it? Can you get through it quick enough? Are you small to get through it?
It feels like she can get away, similar to Drew Barrymore, because she's getting like some good shots in on Ghostface, and you're like, oh, she's gonna get through this little doggy door. She can do it, and it's like, nope.
Honestly, my take on that, I remember watching that maybe for the second or third time, and just thinking, well, she really knocked the killer down. Like, I mean, I think she hits him with those beer bottles and everything. I'm just like, why can't
just stab him? Just
just like
get him on the ground and get
yeah,
another bottle and fucking
exactly right. Like, I mean, he's like on the ground already. Why do you want to run when you have like the advantage in that situation? Just like like just like come in while he's down and just keep like and just finish the guy off. And I kind of
they call it fight or flight, and she chose flight.
She chose poorly.
Yeah, I mean, but I kind of feel that way on several occasions. I feel like, man, they really managed to knock him down, but then they just kind of let Ghostface get back up again. Like, there's not enough of a follow through. Like, I feel if there had been more, if in general the victims in these movies performed like more follow through, like like they could get rid of the guy like halfway through the film. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe they love the chase, like being chased. It's kind of like goes both ways. It's like symbiotic, like you have to, Ghostface has to chase you and you have to be continuing to be chased.
It's like, it actually feels kind of good, to be chased by Ghostface, is what you're saying.
I've never felt more alive in my life.
It's like what's it called? Flatliners from Scream.
Yeah, I get addicted to it.
It's so close to death,
I'm just hiring people to dress up as Ghostface and try and kill me.
Let's get Jan de Bont on the phone, okay? He'll do it.
It's like Nora in The Leftovers. You're strapping on that bulletproof vest to get shot every night by
just to feel something.
All right. Okay. So, fountain scene. So we got Steve. We got Stu, Nappy Lillard, and we also got Jamie Kennedy as Randy Meeks. Who has and he is a character that exists in this movie. Randy, I think, works for me intermittently. I feel like there's a lot of shtick going on. I think he's the stickiest character. I know that we said that about Lillard. Lillard's very outrageous, but I think Randy, like, I don't know, there's a touch and go of his performance. I don't think is fully realized. I think that he works best like as I think because he's too much of an outside observer. Like, he's there to really sort of pin the point in things. So I think that really does keep him at arm's length from the rest of the cast in terms of, feeling a little more, specific.
But it is the most bearable Jamie Kennedy has been on a screen.
Very
right?
true.
What other example? I mean, I have a soft spot for Malibu's Most Wanted, maybe.
White Kong has nothing on him, man.
Well, the one thing that Randy does well in this movie is that he is the audience surrogate, right? Like, he is the guy who's yelling at the TV, like, oh, like, turn around. And like, how many times have you done that watching a horror movie, right? And then the fact that he's in that position that's supposed to center us as the audience, right? Like, the ultimate irony being like, you wouldn't know what to do in that position until you're there, right? And the thing that I appreciate about Randy's inclusion, at least in this movie, is that he serves as that outlet. And in another horror movie, he probably would be one of the last people to survive, right? And in this one, like he's pretty useless and is down and out. Like he's pretty pathetic character. We're not really meant to latch onto him, really, but I think it is an irony and also like something that's outside of the film that Randy himself seems to be something that like carries on within the rest of the franchise, right? He is the conduit of all of this metatextual commentary after a certain point. So it's like, like that's the thing that people glommed onto with this franchise. You can take it or leave it, really, in my eyes. Like there are so many things that you can appreciate about this film that it could have taken further, that this franchise could have been known for, but it speaks to like what people got out of this movie, that Randy was this thing that kind of people rallied around.
Well, even within the film, like the other characters kind of don't give a shit about what Randy has to say about horror. They're like, shut up.
He's kind of like the bard. He's like the guy who knows all the stories, and he is the most self-aware character by far. Right? Like I think that's pretty clear. In fact, I remember actually being quite disappointed that they killed him off in the second one, right? Because you sort of expect him to be, at least I think at that point, I kind of expected that he would kind of be like the guy. I expected him to
he
live
would be
longer.
a through line throughout the whole thing, like to comment on it or something.
Don't worry. To be fair,
Yeah,
I gotta
exactly.
say, I cared more about that VHS he's on in the third one than I do about him in the first two.
They should just keep finding new VHS of that he recorded, like kind of like how
if you're into reboots in 20 years.
Maybe they should treat the Scream movies like the VHS franchise, where it's just like you
or
see
like
Neve
Saw.
Campbell.
Or it's like
I
Saw.
was gonna say Saw. Jigsaw dies in the third one, but he's in every movie.
Yeah, because they keep finding new, keep finding new voice recordings. Oh my God.
I mean, I think that would actually have been a nice device to have. I mean, his cameo in the third one was like, I mean, he literally talks about, listen, you're dealing with like the problems of the trilogy. If you're dealing with like retroactive backstory and like unknown family members or something.
It's the only good part of that movie, in my opinion.
Oh, and the Jay and Silent Bob cameo. Come on.
I mean, we'll get to it. There's some funny bits in 3. I had some fun with it.
Scream technically takes place in the View Askewverse. That's why I love Scream 3. For that reason alone.
All Miramax movies are in the same universe.
Yeah, we're like
Weinstein's web connects them all.
We're like 2 minutes away from Neve Campbell figuring out that Hitler died early. We're like 2 minutes away in the school scene. Anyway, and then we go to the extended sequence of Neve at home alone. No one cares about these kids. They're always alone. We get a good layout of her house, which again is wide open expanses, windows everywhere. She has a patio. She has a backyard that has like a 3-story backyard with trellises and everything. It is a minefield of like open areas someone can get into, and no wonder Billy had such an easy time. Climbing into the window when you see like what the back of that house looks like. It is like just ladders everywhere. It's ridiculous. And I like it. I think that Neve Campbell is, regardless of anything else, is a very kind of empathetic, very evocative performer in this. Alone, I could watch like an entire movie of Neve Campbell's Sidney Prescott alone in this house and in front of the rest character. I think it would have been just as good because she's like such a anchor point.
I think she's one of the best final girls. Like I'm going to keep saying that throughout all these movies. Like regardless of like the quality will shift in between sequels, but like her arc is like pretty good. I mean, we'll get to like after the reboot. I feel like they should just not have brought her back. But like in the 4 movies, like she has an arc that's pretty solid, and you want her to be okay.
We brought up the comparison of her and Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street earlier, and I think what I like about her more than I like about Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street is that she's a lot more self-reliant in this movie. I feel like Neve Campbell, like we're following her perspective. She's not reliant on her parents. She doesn't really ask them for anything. All of the things that she, comes to terms with is on her own volition. So I like, while she is manipulated by Skeet Ulrich in the film later on, I do feel like there's an incredible amount of autonomy that she's afforded, and I believe that she is as competent, to sort these things out, because hey, these are real people. This is not a slasher movie where we're meant to like look at these as like, pawns that could fuck up at any time so then we can get the cool gnarly kill. These are like people who make mistakes, and as a person who makes mistakes, like I care about her.
And like there's a genuineness, like there's a vulnerable kind of awkwardness to these characters as well. Like that kind of keeps to that tone, keeps that grounded. Like the part where she's like thinks it's Randy, so she's like, "Ah, I'm gonna prank you back," and starts picking her nose. And like that's such a stupid, corny thing, but it's such like it's just very playful. Like okay, we're going to like recede the emotions back as much as we can before we get intense with it. It's such a great device.
I was just thinking though, but I think on some level, right, there is a deliberate play with the characters, and the character and the sort of genre, like stock genre character types, right? Like, I mean, in a way, I think, I think like Sidney Prescott kind of sort of fits into that role, right? But it's also right, like I mean, it's the movie is deliberately playing with the stereotypes of the slasher movie, right? I think even, typically in a slasher movie, the police tend to be quite incompetent, right? And I think like Dewey, for example, well, he's both incompetent, but he's also a guy who survives. Surprisingly,
he's so lovable though.
Yeah, he is, right?
Who doesn't love Dewey? I love Doofy though. Doofy's better. Doofy fucks.
I never bought when they tried to make us think that Dewey's a villain. I'm just like, that guy is. He is.
Well,
so
we
nice.
do see Ghostface stumble, and he's bumbling sometimes. So, but no, like you always kind of think it's Billy, even on the first watch. But it is funny that they keep throwing other like examples at you. Like when she is attacked at her home the first time, and she goes to the door, and it's just Dewey holding the Ghostface mask like up over his face. It's very funny.
Like, and they both scream like little girls.
I never buy Dewey because like Dewey, he's like the red herring in the absence of us thinking that Skeet Ulrich is the guy, right? Like Skeet Ulrich, we're meant to think that is not somebody to consider because Nev Campbell doesn't want to consider him, right? And that's why Dewey is put in this position. But at all points, it's like Dewey is, getting the stings. He, like the score is trying to make us feel that way. But at no point do I buy it because he's just kind of a bumbling cop.
He's like Barney Fife.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's interesting when you think about, I think like the narrative structure of Scream, right? It is a mystery movie, which I think is kind of something that separates it a bit from other slashers. I think a lot of slasher movies, they're not really all that much about the mystery and reveal of things. Like usually the killer is like a third party, right? Like you get maybe some kind of explanation. And here it really is turned out, no, wait, it is like one of the cast members, right? You're meant to wonder who could it be, right? Like who do we know, who have we seen that is behind the mask, right? And I think it really works. I think it's incredibly well. I think it's a powerful, I don't know, twist or reveal or whatever that ultimately, no, wait a minute, yeah, like these guys who, these characters who have like had all this development, yeah, like Billy is like the killer, and apparently, and there's more than one even, right? It's I have to say, I really think
that part was truly mind blowing to me. I'm like,
yeah,
you can do that. You can have two killers.
Yeah, well, no, but it's just structure wise, I love that. I love that it's a genuine mystery film, right? And I kind of wish the other movies that came after weren't constantly trying to repeat that structural formula. Like there's never a
I
real.
feel like there's one other one that has a satisfying reveal, and we'll get to that one. But I mean, it's 4 for me. I like how they handle who the ghost face is in that.
Yeah, no, like, but yeah, but I mean, like it's just I think that's one of the problems with the franchise as a whole. Every movie after this one also wants to be a mystery movie, and to throw you off the trail, right? They kind of have to build it in such a way that like, oh, is this Ghostface? Is that Ghostface?
Okay, so I know, to put a fine point on it, only like 2 or 3 of these movies care about the ensemble. Everyone else is like, at other ones, like 2, 3, 5, 6, they only care about like the who could it be aspect. They don't care about like what these characters mean to each other, like
True.
because Tatum and Stu, they're having fun, and Billy and they have their Dawson's Creek drama, as we pointed out, and Dewey has this thing with Gale. Principal Himbry has scenes where he's all by himself talking with Wes Craven as a janitor. It's like everyone's kind of having their own kind of stuff going on. Meanwhile, when you get the 2, just moving ahead a little bit, like who cares about Sydney's roommate?
It doesn't feel lived in like Woodsboro.
Exactly.
It doesn't.
Jerry O'Connell is not a person.
It feels like a movie college instead of like, oh, Sydney is at college.
To me, all it finished in 5 minutes of that movie.
Like we're talking about like the grander like issues with the franchise, and to put a finer point on it, it's like like the murder mystery thing is what it drilled into, because at that point it's just like, okay, what kind of CW adjacent stars can we bring in here who like we can just focus on mining drama and interesting character dynamics from, rather than like what the roots of this film is, which is commenting upon like horror as a genre itself. And even when the series tries to go back to that, it doesn't ever like capture that. And something to kind of sorry, like could I get the name of the 4th person who joined again? I hate to say this.
Mikhail.
Hi.
Mikhail. Okay, so
Yeah.
so Mikhail, I just wanted to say the point you were making was perfect about like the Agatha Christie things, like, but it leads it too much into this murder mystery thing, as this franchise goes along.
Yes.
I totally agree that it's like what the roots of the genre is this, horror, specifically Halloween in this movie. If Scream wanted to like be a more consistent franchise, honestly they should just choose other horror movies on each outing and then like see.
I was just gonna say that
work.
like as much as I love 4, like they should have gone an anthology route and like comment on
Yeah.
different kinds of horror like each time, like, oh, we're
Yeah.
gonna do this is this is our Frankenstein Scream or something. I don't know.
Well, I get it. Like, so you have one where like these people, go to an abandoned house and it seems like it's haunted, but it turns out to be a real estate development guy who has all these things making it seem like it's haunted. And they pull off his mask and like, see, look, Bird, it's Mr. Winston. And they're like, I would have gone away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids and Sidney Prescott.
And then Benoit Blanc says, "Scooby-Doo."
Row, Matthew Lillard. Anyway,
yeah, you can even have the cast come back and play different characters. Like they're just like you can bring back people who died and like they're in a new form now.
I didn't get this out when we were talking about Matthew Lillard, but I just wanted to pose this question to you guys: is Matthew Lillard the definitive Shaggy?
I mean, kind of, yeah. I don't have strong Scooby-Doo.
I mean, so I think yeah, because no disrespect to Billy West and Scott McInnes, but they always felt a little bit too cartoony. Now, that's so stupid. They're all cartoony, obviously, but Casey Kasem and Matthew Lillard have a little bit more like, they're not trying to sound like Shaggy. They're trying to sound like an attitude. Meanwhile,
they naturally sound like Shaggy.
He's
like Matthew Lillard doesn't need to like really try.
But,
and he
but
does.
the thing about like he sounds like a guy who would be called Shaggy. Is my point, because he doesn't sound anything like Casey Kasem. They don't sound anything alike at all.
Mhm.
But the vibe of the character comes through, like what you think of when you think of that personality, what Shaggy should be as a guy, a dude. Meanwhile, with Billy West and Scott McInnes, like the other 2 big name guys who've been Shaggy, they feel like they want to sound like Casey Kasem. Like
Mhm.
terrible.
They really want to go in that direction.
Yeah.
Just like the final Matthew Lillard note, I just wanted to say, if you guys haven't seen the movie SLC Punk, you guys should watch that movie
It
because
rocks.
that movie's very good.
If
Hey,
you guys
you've seen
haven't
it, Elvis?
seen the 3rd season of Twin Peaks, you
Oh,
should see
yeah,
it.
we
We're
all
just talking about his
Oh.
scenes are incredible.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
like I was really just disappointed with the way they kind of got rid of him at the end, because I was just like, oh my god, he has these like just like his dialogue and like his whole. I think he said something like, I want to have a, I want to go, I want to get a scooter, I want to go on a scoop, and something like that. And I was just like, my god, this character is amazing.
Yeah, when he just breaks down crying, he's like, "Why is this happening? Like, I don't understand."
So, some would say that that's when the Brendan Fraserization of his career started.
Yeah, Life of Chuck sucked. Anyway,
Thank you.
I haven't seen it.
Thank you.
It sucks so much. But anyway, moving ahead, Skeet Ulrich gets arrested.
Good.
But also Billy gets arrested.
Movie's
in the
over.
movie.
We got him.
They got him.
We got him.
He had a cell phone. And here's where Tatum says one of the things where I decided to check out of her character for the entire rest of the movie. She's like, she says like, oh, he had to have a flaw. He was too perfect. What are you talking about, Tatum? What are you talking about?
I guess because he's cute or something. Like,
he's been negging your friend for like a year plus, man. What are you doing here?
Everybody's got that one bad friend who gives you bad advice.
I do not.
That is real. Yeah.
I do not believe for 1 second that she would name her friend after Tatum, who is obviously a witch.
and also like several decades prior to the Roof Man, which you've always got to be wary of. You got to keep those roofs secure.
I love how everyone calls him Ghostface, but we find out that the Halloween costume is called Father Death, which I think makes sense.
Yeah, it looks like Death. Death's got a robe and a scythe,
and he got a really, really weird face.
Can we talk about like the iconography of this character?
I want to bring. I love that they don't own the rights to fucking Ghostface.
Yeah,
I love that. No, I love how like there's like only a select few characters that's true of. It's the Daleks from Doctor Who. Doctor Who doesn't own the rights to the Daleks. The guy who created them did his estate, so they have to license it from him. They have to license the Daleks from those people. Spectre, from James Bond.
Oh, right,
also another one of those things. Jason now. That's the thing. They everyone make a Jason Friday movie. They have to license them out together. It has to be a co-pro.
Make it hard.
And Ghostface, like it's so funny. It's so funny.
Wait. Is that the reason why they were able to use Ghostface in Scary Movie?
Well, partly yes.
Parody law, also.
Yeah, parody law. But yeah,
I was gonna say yeah.
Yeah, but basically Fun World. They played hardball and they kept the rights to everything. So basically Fun World never see Ghostface in something like Dead by Daylight or like the Halloween costumes or a license anywhere. Toys, NECA. They're not going through Miramax, not going through Legendary or whatever there is for whoever's making these movies now. It's Fun World. It's the company that makes those masks. That's really funny.
That's awesome.
And something just to put a bigger point on that, right? Like, I feel like they are so not precious about Ghostface to the point where it's like every Halloween time, right? Like every time you go to a party or you're out and about and you see people dressed up, there are so many ghost faces. And it's because like those costumes are so cheap. And it's because like the knife with the blood on it that you can kind of like tilt and people do the
pumping one.
Yeah, exactly. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Like all of this is so like ingrained with Halloween culture itself, and I think it has to do with how the Scream franchise is built around how anybody can be Ghostface.
Right? Anyone can just go buy this costume. It's so commonplace.
Yeah, and
it's also about our own appreciation of horror. That's what makes Ghostface, right? So it's like if you go as Ghostface on Halloween, that's what that reflection of you being him is, right? Like, I think that's interesting. I don't think that people are making that connection every time. I'm just saying that that's like something that's interesting about how Ghostface as an icon has persisted.
Yeah, no, it's true. And that's why I think that Scream 5 should have been set in the real world, set in 2002. It should have been a period piece, set in 2002. The height of those masks. Someone was taking their love of Scream a little bit too far.
See, I like that. Because then you can get those moments where you have those people pressing the pump on the blood, like you were talking about on those masks, right? And they wait for it to be covered because it always took forever.
It swapped out. It swaps out for the glow in the dark one. You know.
Yeah, that's how you know they cheaped out. Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, so Billy gets booked. He's put in jail, and we haven't talked about Courtney Cox that much because Sydney slaps her, and it's a really great moment. But Courtney Cox is wonderful in this. She's really good. I gotta say, we talked about how great Neve Campbell is as Sydney. I enjoy everything that Courtney Cox does, and every time she appears. Even in the ones I don't like, she's brilliant. Like she's just so funny, and she's so like raw about things and just blunt. It's so good. They're like, we will. I would love her to be Ghostface. Everyone's like, we gotta make, the final girl. She's so traumatized, she goes crazy, becomes Ghostface. No, let's have Gail put on the mask.
I mean, that would be more interesting than because they kind of, we'll get to it in the sequels. They kind of just reset her every time, instead of there being like any kind of forward movement, especially like when it comes to her and Dewey, because they have. I mean, obviously they were a real life couple. Like you can feel that in like. The sparks there in this, but they're great together. Like when they're sharing a scene, you're like, I don't even need the horror movie. I'll just watch this.
And the movie knows that too, because like when they're like alone, sometimes there'll be like a little sting to it. Like, yeah, okay, we're in a completely different genre at this point. Whenever they're like having a tete-a-tete.
When they're in the ditch, it's like, yeah, those sparks are flying. Like it's totally bought.
Wait, I forget. Did Courtney Cox and David Arquette, did they get married before or after this movie?
Before they met the actor. They met on this.
Ah, okay.
Good for them.
So it was like happening in real time. That like Dewey and her are falling in love, and like that's also what happening in the real life.
So Joey was wrong in episode of Friends. Sometimes you can see the heat on the screen.
Well, no, I wanted to say it's interesting how like after Friends, this became Courtney Cox's big ongoing role, right? Like
without a doubt.
Yeah, and I mean she also she also did this, I think, during the height of Friends' popularity, right? That was like 97. It was on until I think maybe 2000, 2002, something like that.
She's probably bigger than fucking Aniston.
Oh, 94.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Scream and Leprechaun are like they're talking the same circles.
Oh, right. That was. Oh, wow. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Oh man, yeah. The first Leprechaun movie and Leprechaun Returns still, I think, like really damn good.
2 and 3 are good too.
As somebody with Irish heritage, I find Leprechaun and the subsequent films to be extremely insulting.
Even in the hood. How about Back to the
Hood?
Back to the Hood rocks.
The problem still exists in the roots, like Leprechaun itself.
I mean, the fact that
before we even get into the hood, we got to talk about the Leprechaun. I'm just kidding either way.
They gotta save the youth center and Back to the Hood. It's so great. It rocks.
The Leprechaun series is awesome. I love those movies.
We need to get the rest of the Friends cast horror franchise. Does Lisa Kudrow got one?
Yeah.
Honestly, put her into Five Nights at Freddy's. Why not?
Yeah.
I would actually maybe want to go see those then. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. But Lillard is in Five Nights.
I know. Yes. I was dragged to see the most recent one, so he was in
You saw the second one?
Yeah. Skeet Ulrich is in it too.
Wait,
kill me.
Yeah, okay, hold on. So I heard that there was somebody made this statement on Twitter somewhere where they were like, there's like a Marvel portal opening sequence. Is that true?
No, there's just like a lot of applause breaks for people to be like, "Oh, that's so and so." Like I don't remember a portal opening up, but also I was kind of getting sleepy during it because it was a boring movie.
But were there actually 5 nights this time, or did he slip through half of them like the first one?
Good for him.
I feel like it's just like a couple of nights.
That was so shocking to me. He slept through like 3 of the nights, man. What's the point?
Imagine if they just called it A Few Nights at Freddy's. I feel like alliteration is key here.
A fortnight. at
Yeah.
Freddy's.
Fortnite at Freddy's, yeah.
Fortnite.
Anyway,
it was fun. The first
so-
one, anyway.
so sleepover. They're all wearing jammies. And Dewey lives at home. That was a big mistake. That was actually a bit of a mistake. Dewey lives at home still as a cop.
Good for him.
Good, yeah. The suburban McMansions. They don't cost cheap, man.
A
And-
police wage is not a living wage.
Yep. And so we get the Red Right Hand kind of bit as well. So that was good. And we get the cameo of Cotton Weary on the TV, and that's the only time we see him with his mullet.
Liev Schreiber, I'm first time watching when I first watched it, I was like, I did not know he was a part of it. Like, it's just such a small little thing, and then they do bring him back later for subsequent ones. So I was like, I love me some Liev.
So Kevin Williams, like, we got the first one, but I kept all like pretty much the outline for the second in my back pocket in case we needed to go.
Okay, so this is completely off topic, but on Liev Schreiber, have you guys ever seen the movie The Day Trippers?
I heard of it. I've seen the poster where they're like, that's pretty much it.
I haven't seen that one.
It
it's
sounds
on the-
very familiar. Like something about it, I just could swear. I wonder if maybe I might have seen it at some kind of like I think I might have attended a press screening for that a very long time ago. Like maybe what was it, like mid 2000s, something like that.
No, it's 96.
No, so this is a 97.
It was is
This
that
is a
okay?
90
Then I'm confusing it. Sorry.
No, it's all good. But just kind of to fill in the picture a bit, this is Greg Mottola. This is the guy who did like Superbad and
Nice.
Adventureland.
Is this his first
this
movie?
is, I believe so. This is in the 90s, and it's got Parker Posey in it as well. Hope Davis, Stanley Tucci
Bravo.
is in it as well. But Baba Booey. Liev Schreiber is hilarious in this movie. And I just wanted to point it out because, like, in this movie, a large portion of it just takes place in a car. The joke of the movie is that they're going into New York City to confront somebody, and Liev Schreiber is just in the back seat the entire time. So like when we get this like one shot of Liev Schreiber in the back seat of the car and he's in like going to jail, I just thought about him at this exact moment because it's obviously like at the exact same time. I was just like, holy shit! Like Liev Schreiber was typecast to be in the back seat of a car.
It's very specific typecasting.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how I connected those dots, but I did.
you took a lot of string. Anyway, so we get my favorite moment. They all that they're at home, okay, and Ghostface calls, and we can't be Billy then because Ghostface called. How could this happen? So they had to let Billy go, and Billy again, confronts Neve Campbell and says the most horrific sexist shit to her. So he's a fucking freak. Like, how you would rather call me a killer than touch my my penis? How dare you?
He's also like, it's been a year. Get over your mom's death. Which is
Mom.
crazy to say.
Get over it. Come on. Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
His comparison is like, when my mom left my dad, I accept it. It's like, that's not the same thing.
Moms just leave, man.
They leave, they get killed, yada, yada, yada.
Also, it's your fault because you're a woman. That's what you say. Billy sucks. He's the worst man in existence. I do not believe. I cannot believe for 1 second that he is. I just can't find him attractive. For many reasons.
No, I mean he's like a bad boy. He's got a bit of a dark energy to him. I mean
He's a
the CW
sexist.
Well,
They should have
but
given him what if he had a leather jacket, though?
You know what? No, you know what? They're gonna make him sexist. They should have gone and they should have waited a couple of years. They should have gone and what's his face? Jimmy Olsen to be this character. He would work.
What I think is fascinating about this, though, is that, like, okay, so slashers as a genre, right? Like, when we think about them, right, do we think about them as empowering for women or not, right? Because like there are many people who make the arguments on both ends, right? And I think that what this film is getting at is it's not getting at whether or not definitively yes it is or not. I think that this movie is saying like these are the people who took the wrong message from these kinds of movies, right? Because again, at the end of the day, they're idolizing these slashers, right? They're following this code because they're using these slashers to enforce some kind of moral code, right? So it's like I think that it's interesting that these people are taking like the wrong message away from it, and again, it's coming from like a reactionary place because that's where a lot of horror movies are coming from. But also, I think that Wes Craven's a more progressive filmmaker, so it's interrogating all of this at the same time. You guys get what I'm laying down?
No, yeah,
No,
100%.
I agree because again, it's it's I guess you could kind of tether it to today. You have all these people, these kids getting radicalized online by
Precisely.
watching all of these kind
Mm.
of like very incel, pro MGTW, kind of YouTubers and influencers stuff like that. Like what is feeding into them? It's horror making them violent, but no, are things they're consuming making them misogynistic, making them see these people, see women as a certain way, like what. And I think that is like the sort of the impact of the violence here. It's Tatum, it's Sydney's mom, it's Sydney, it's Drew Barrymore. These are specific pits for a reason. Now they try to kill Dewey, and they try to kill Jamie Kennedy, but those seem to be more superfluous. That they weren't the planned out ones.
It's incidental, and the violence against women is always the most brutal ones. Like that's who they're gonna go like full out on.
Yeah.
That's obviously what they're getting off on, really, what they're doing. But then also it's like, again, it comes down to like, what is the purpose of a slasher really? The slasher is supposed to be like a cautionary tale. And to get to the question I was kind of posing out initially, right? Because like some people, they view slashers as like empowerment tales where like it's about women fighting back against a patriarchal system and how they fight back against slashers. But then in this film, it's like these people like got the message wrong. Like they inverted it where they were like, no, it's actually like we should be on the side of the slashers, and that's where they're corrupted. That's why they become Ghostface, is because they have taken the wrong things from it. But also at the same time, this film is making a position where it's like these things are there because there's an absence of a home life, right? Because we're obviously talking about the absent mother figures, right? So I think it's interesting that it's all there. It's on the script. It's considered with Wes Craven's direction. It's interesting that it's all in the stew.
I think also, there is arguably a division here between a good and bad fans and fandoms, because
Right.
like, I mean,
1000%.
yeah, I mean, like Randy is very much what you might call like a good fan. He doesn't. He loves horror movies. He loves their conventions.
But he is annoying.
Yeah,
Like
he's annoying.
At worst, he's annoying, which is
Yeah.
better than being a murderer.
Right, like
He
doesn't. Well, he doesn't take that to this. Like to this like extreme. He doesn't take like the wrong lessons away from horror films, right? Whereas like Billy and Stu seem to kind of like they kind of seem to revel in the I guess like the like they literally take like all the wrong lessons away from that, and they kind of use that. Like for them, it's almost like there was almost like a cultist like mentality, right? Like that they have built around like stalker, like psycho killers who who go after women. In particular, and it's interesting, right? Like I think the fifth one was also kind of sort of about fandom or something like that.
Right.
But all of that is right there in that first movie.
What are the rules but a to-do list, right? Because like sure, we get JB Kennedy like telling us for the audience, right? But the implication is that like Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard already know these things, right? And that this is their Bible, right? Like this is the thing that like they have gleaned all understanding of the world from, right? And they've just taken the exact wrong route. And I think that that's interesting to be commenting upon that in 1996, which is again like pre like true critical analysis on true crime media, pre like reflexive,
and
horror films
pre-Columbine, like you point out, like
and
that's not for
pre-Columbine.
another 3 years.
I think that's the most impactful thing about this film, really, upon revisit, like to understand the parallels are so deep from multiple angles. As a big fan of Gus Van Sant's Elephant, it's weird that this movie mirrors that one in many ways.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's for sure. I never thought of that. I mean, but there's definitely something. There are definitely some parallels there. I would say that I think, in a way, one reason why this movie came out when it did really does have to do with the fact that it was kind of reacting, I think, to the death of the slasher in many ways. People like to say, the 90s, it's like the
1000.
horror. Yeah, like the horror genre was dead. Like, I don't believe that. It's just horror genre production went downhill. Like, I mean, it diminished considerably from the heights of the 80s. But the number of really good horror movies that came out in that decade was still, I think, like, pretty high, pretty decent at least. But definitely, like, the bigger franchises had all sort of run into the ground. The 80s were the decade of the slasher, right? And now suddenly you needed something to, I think, kind of react to and reinvent that and kind of parody and satirize that for it to become viable again.
Did you guys ever see the movie The Dentist, Brian Usna?
Yes.
Yes.
I haven't seen that one. No.
Doug, you should. It's a very fun movie, right?
Yeah.
Like I would say it's a great movie. Like, it's a very solid, good time.
Corbin Burnson, it's very fun.
Hell yeah.
But at the same time, it's like that movie came out like the same year as Scream,
And they're equally good.
They're equally good, but also you're talking about two sides of a polemic, right? Where that film is like still within like the well-worn tradition of a slasher, and Scream is very self-aware. And I feel like after a certain point, when you have a well-worn genre, you need some degree of self-awareness to evolve, right? Because like our understanding of horror, what scares us, what invades our home changes over decades, right? So these things can't stay the same, right? They need to be updated in some ways. And what's interesting about Scream 1 is that it felt so modern to its time. And then what's interesting about the later Screams, it's like trying to put a 90s hat on top of a modern person and trying to make it work. And the thing that's interesting about the Scream franchise is maybe it should be not so focusing on what it was in the 90s and rather evolve it from further from that. But we'll get that in future episodes.
Yes. All right. So, what was I going to say here?
Can we talk about Henry Winkler threatening those kids?
Please.
Yes. Yes. That is the next
insane.
scene. That is the next scene. So we're on track. Okay. So go ahead, Doug.
Well, like, yeah, because there's these kids running around with the ghost face mask, like speaking to like what we said. It's a common costume. Anyone can get these, but also a schoolmate of these kids was brutally murdered. So like the fact that they're doing like that's, I mean, yeah, kids could be insensitive pricks, but like it's like, oh damn, that's crazy. So getting expelled. I agree with that decision. But then he takes these scissors in his office and he's like running them across. He's like, hey, how would you feel if I gutted you and hung you up or something? Like, well, dude, you can't threaten them like that.
But then we see him later wearing the mask, right? And the truth with his character is that he just admires the power that Ghostface as an entity holds over these kids, and he is actually jealous of that power, right? Like he wants to be an authority figure so bad. Exactly.
So what you're saying is they shouldn't have built that statue to him. They should tear it down. It's a horrible monster.
Honestly, I felt sorry that the principal was murdered. Like I never really, I didn't really see what he had like really done to deserve that, I mean, and I remember
hate authority. They're like,
no, but it's interesting. I remember reading somewhere that they added that kill into the movie because somebody thought the middle of the movie was kind of boring because nobody had gotten killed for like 20 or 30 minutes, so they just needed to throw it. No, so they needed to throw something in there, and they decided to kill off the principal.
It makes more again, that does make sense that it was kind of thrown in because you get that part where it's like, oh, could he be the killer? And then only to be like 5 minutes later, no way, he's not, because so it's not even playing around with the kind of like the implication of things. They're just no, he's not. That's that tease was nothing.
I mean, if they go more than 10 minutes on the kill, I'm gonna have to go on TikTok. So I'm glad they added it in there.
I just the happy days have to come to an end at some point, right? So, like, I'm glad that we just got it in for that sake, and also just like Henry Winkler is an amazing presence, and this movie is lacking like presence of old guys. I feel like with a lot of these like classic slashers, we always got like a John Saxon, like somebody like that. What makes Scream so unique is that it's so heavily reliant on the core ensemble that it is so many teenagers. I think that it's very easy to see why so many people glommed onto this franchise because it did reflect a younger fan base.
Yeah, people were like, "That's us. It's about us."
Exactly. All of the extra side characters are people who are young, so it's like that's why people like that. But it's like I maybe I would like a John Saxon.
So this segues into my least favorite scene in the entire franchise, like singular scene, where Nev Campbell listens to like these middle-aged cheerleaders talking about Ricky Lake. So it's the fakest scene in the movie, like by far. Like where's God? I saw it on Ricky Lake. She goes mental. What performance is this? What lines are this? It is like such a I don't think we need this to understand that people at school don't respect Sydney and don't respect her situation. We just got that with the kids playing with the mask in the hallway. This is just adding a button to a button.
It's a hat and a hat. Yeah.
It's just trying to do like the whole like, oh, people talking behind your back at school kind of thing. And it's grounding it in a way, but it's also like I've already invoked the CW a few times. I feel like Scream, like it's the Euphoria idea where it's like 25-year-olds playing high schoolers, right? Like these are all adults who are playing kids, right?
So here's the line. I looked it up. Here's the line. But she realizes that teen suicide is out this year, and homicide is a much healthier therapeutic experience. No one talks like this.
That belongs more in Scary Movie than Scream.
No.
But to be
that
fair,
belongs in Heathers.
Okay, but to be honest, does anybody talk in real life how they talk in a Scream movie?
A little bit. It's more naturalistic than that scene was. I don't know what was going on that day. Kevin got a little bit too much to drink. He didn't sleep that well.
There's at least a base reality to the other characters, whereas you don't really. I mean, thankfully, they're only in that one part.
And I do think that like Scream 1 versus like Scream as a franchise are two different entities almost, right? Like with this movie, it's doing something entirely new and unproven almost, right? So it's like, like if they were to make sequels of this, I'm sure they weren't like thinking of that when they made it. That's the dream always, right? But it's like this does feel like first a passion project, which is what makes this so compelling as something that's so successful.
No, that's for sure. I mean, there was a kind of a laissez-faire attitude to it, right? Like you really didn't know who could or could not survive, right? And I mean, I remember, I think like the story was that, like even Dewey was kind of dead, and then they like changed their minds around, and that became, like, and I mean, had they actually like killed him off, like I'm like, well, how would it's hard to imagine what Scream 2 and 3 and so on would have been like, right? Like without that character. So yeah, there were no rules really when this movie came out. This is the movie that sort of, I think, kind of for better or for worse, it established the rules. It established the groundwork, right? Like the formula or whatever for what came after. But in and of itself, right, it's a very it is an original movie.
We brought up Tarantino only briefly, but I think that like that's a point that's worth drilling into at this point, right? Because I feel like he was so big at this time, and so as well as so many of his contemporaries, like the invoked Kevin Smith or Richard Linklater, right? Like these were
Yes.
filmmakers who were very verbose. These are filmmakers who, like they're commenting upon well-worn traditions and observations within society. And with Scream, it occupies a lot of that realm as well, because like, in a Tarantino movie, you would get like, a 15-minute monologue devoted to a hamburger, right? and it would matter to the story, right?
And they're very pop culture forward. Of like these are written by, and the characters in the stories know about popular culture.
Yeah,
exactly.
or you get you get scenes, or you get scenes, right, that are not at all important to plot, but are more about just showing sort of like the mundane reality that you normally are not privy to with film characters.
Mm-hmm. And I think that Scream actually does a better job than Tarantino in this sense. I'm sorry, Mr. Tarantino, but also fuck you. So at the same time, the thing is, the thing is that with Scream, it's commenting upon these things, but at the same time, it's still its own story. So it's like these are these people's perceptions on these things, right? It's not like their version of it is the truth. And in something like Tarantino, it's like Tarantino's truth is the truth of the film, right? And that's why so many of like the knockoffs and the wannabes are so insufferable, and why it actually gives Scream a worse smell, right? Because think about all of the movies that came after Scream that were trying to be like meta and twisty that just failed to do so in the fallout of this, right? You wouldn't get that without this kind of like meta thing that was bubbling up in the 90s.
What are you talking about? Urban Legend rocks.
It's
Jared Leto's best
my
performance.
world.
No, listen, I think there are several strong post-Scream, and even like contemporaries. I think there are some good examples of postmodern horror. Like, I think even in the year that Scream came out, right, there was From Dusk Till Dawn, which I think is and which is a Tarantino / Rodriguez movie, right? And I think one of the greatest vampire films ever made.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest though. Like now that Sinners came out, like I feel like that movie's obsolete. Like I don't want to be that guy, but I feel like Sinners does it better.
No, I'm sorry. Sinners does not do it better. I
know what I enjoy both. They're both good flavors. I was shocked when someone was like, "Oh my god!" People told me that From Dusk Till Dawn was good. It sucked, and like a billion people agree. And nah, you guys stink. That movie's fun. It's a good old like what's it called? Tales from the Crypt style flick. I'm good with it.
No, but I also
that famous gif of like George Clooney making that face, like that's me with From Dusk Till Dawn. Like I just don't like that movie.
It's fun. Anyway, we're moving off topic here.
Okay, but can I just give one more example? There is a film from 2015, failed at the box office, but I think probably like will be recognized. But is like getting some recognition now. It's called The Final Girls. And
yeah, I remember this one.
That sucked.
What? No, I'm sorry. I love that movie. I legitimately love that movie. Like, I'm just like,
it's interesting, but I think the main conceit just doesn't hold water for me. Like, that's not her mom.
But like, the emotional reality of that movie, I'm just like, oh my god! Like, I can totally see.
Also, I hate Adam Levine. I think 99% of the time he's a really annoying performer.
Yeah, but I don't know. He's like really funny in that film, especially
he's doing his shtick. Anyway, maybe
okay, but I will say this.
I'll check it out. I mean, I don't know. It seems like it could maybe be like Tucker and Dale versus Evil-esque.
I think it's way better than that. I kind of feel like, just when it comes to actually establishing, characters and emotional stakes and drama and everything, I'm just like, man, I like that more than Scream. I mean,
that's ridiculous, man. Even if you like Final Girls, like, no, man, Final Girls, it just sucks so much. I don't like it at all.
We should totally debate that one.
Okay, but let's move on.
Yes. Okay.
Next. All right. So, as you were saying, Hitchcocky, we have the Wes Craven cameo. He's a good actor, man. He should have been more things. He's got the chops. He's like, oh, what you call me? I'm an old man. I have a mustache. He has a mustache. I never noticed. I paused on the screen. He has a big old fake mustache. like a curly Q mustache. It's fucking hilarious.
Wes Craven was a funny motherfucker. Like if you ever listen to him talk or something, he was a really fucking funny dude. So like he was a great screen presence. Like yeah, like big fan that he shows up.
Yeah. So Principal Himbry dies. We don't see exactly what happens, but we do get to hear that later in the movie that he was strung up on the football goal post, which is horrific. Again, we don't get to see it. That's fun. That's nice. And my second least favorite line is when Tatum comes after this. She's like, "Oh, it sounds like something from like a Wes Carpenter movie." No, I hate that shit. I hate that shit. I hate when they like be cute about references. You haven't been cute about the references this entire movie. Don't be cute now. Okay, I hate that shit.
Right. You're absolutely right.
Just do in the Mouth of Madness, says Stephen King. Like they don't pretend that he doesn't. Although it's also funny because the fictional author in the movie is like coded as King-esque, but it's like, oh, Stephen King also exists.
Also, Sutter Kane, like the same kind of like syllables. Even.
I mean, I feel like the only other thing that'd be more hacky than this would be to have a character like named after John Carpenter, but like they would never do that,
Well, the fact that like Halloween is just playing on the TV even later, like this movie makes no like it doesn't try to hide how influenced it is after a certain point. But like you're right that like that line in particular sticks out so much where it's like you could have shouted out like a million other filmmakers, but like we're going to get the same filmmakers who we're already aware of in this film that's already been repeated at this point several times. It's like we already know Wes Craven's the guy who made this. We already know that Halloween's a preoccupation. You don't need to go down this route.
Tarantino would have thrown in more obscure people, I think.
Oh yeah, but even like anyone from the era, right? Like imagine if they said like Stuart Gordon or Toby Hooper, like a Toby Gordon movie, like say that, like mix it up a little is what I'm saying.
It's weird
Rob
to
Zombie,
Ghostface
hey
in the daytime, so similar to like when Michael Myers is stalking Laurie in the first Halloween before it actually gets to Halloween night, and like you just have to reconcile with the concept of Michael Myers was driving a car and he was just kind of like walking around in the day watching her. But
he knows how to drive.
Yeah, because there's that shot of before they go to the video store in Scream where like he's like behind the trees or something, like peeking at him. It's like why are you in costume during the day? Like wouldn't it be easier to just peep on him? Like
oh yeah, I know. When they're at the grocery store, he's like in the reflection of like one of the refrigerating aisles. In the mirror on the door.
Well, I guess they're also coming after her in the bathroom at school. So like the daytime attacks are like, and it's the point of it because like if they're sticking to she can't die until she loses her virginity, they're just fucking with her then.
That's an interesting question though. Like, would they have had, I don't know, the authority to kill her if she hadn't actually
escaped?
No, if she hadn't like slept like with the guy, right? Like, I mean, did he do that deliberately so he could kill her later? You know what I'm saying?
He did it to have sex, He's a virgin, he's a nerd.
Well, and to have the excuse, I think it's both. Like because he wants to fuck, but then
he also wants to degrade.
You're a whore.
Yeah, exactly. He wants to degrade her. Yeah, he's a misogynist asshole. Which is why we needed him in 2 more movies.
We need his Force Ghost to show.
Yeah,
like,
God, I thought we.
Right.
Anyway, so the party. Would you believe that it lasts like 40 minutes?
It's kind of the thing that most people remember about the movie too. Like, especially what Scary Movie minds the most laughs from.
Yeah, it's like the center. It's all been leading to this. Like,
yeah.
And it flies by. It's 40 minutes, but it's like I'm locked the fuck in.
It is. It's like it's really immaculately done when you really get the idea. Like, okay, these locations, this house, it's an entire environment that they play every nook and cranny of. The upstairs bedroom, basement, living room, garage, the surrounding woods for Gale and Dewey's little side quest. It's an entire thing. It's like it's an entire cinematic universe of its own, and it's amazing. It's like they really do take their time to set these pieces up, and they knock them all down. I can't think of one false move in its entire thing.
I've never actually thought about it that much, but now that you mention it, that does seem to be a thing with Craven. Like at least in a number of his movies, like A Nightmare on Elm Street, in the earlier The Hills Have Eyes and everything, right? Like there's I think there is a recurring use of the environment and of space to its utmost, I don't know, effect, if you will, right? Like there's a tendency to sort of, I think, like explore spaces and then create traps and potential set pieces within them. Like, like, I mean, so you get like all of these like areas that are set up early on, and then, like some sort of trap or something will be laid in, and then like, so you see like, I think like the finale of Elm Street, for example, and even like the finale of Red Eye, even kind of, like when I think about that, I'm just like, oh yeah, this is a recurring thing with Craven. He's really good at setting up, I think, things that will pop or happen within the environment, right? Like there is an emphasis on the space.
For sure.
That's why horror is so twinned with comedy. It's set up and payoff. And
yeah, the timing.
You get like, instead of gags, they're like setting up these things like the delay on Gale's video guide. Like the
so good
delay. Like I love the setup, the payoff for that. It's all good.
It's amazing. It's a fun thing. It's so fun. You know what? It's shocking, but not too shocking that that scary movie did not make use of that as well. Did they? I don't think they did.
I don't remember. It's been too long, but maybe it was just too good. Like they were like, I don't know, I don't have a joke for it.
Yeah, they got it in one.
What I like about this extended march, and even to go further from the points that have already been brought up already, is again, it's the roots are in murder mystery, right? Because we've already been introduced to our central cast of characters, and now we're going to bring them all to one location, and we're going to sort this shit out, right? Whether they know it or not, right? It's like all of the elements have bubbled up to a boiling point to where it's all going to have to happen tonight. And us as an audience, like it's all watching it around the perspective of Halloween's playing. And what's interesting about this set piece is that it's like happening in quotations real time with the tape. So you're able to like see people like they're watching the movie and then they get bored with it, they leave. But then it also pairs really well with like when Dewey gets into the house, like the score is underplaying the dramatic tension of what he's going through. Like it's not even just something that you can write on the page. Like that's why it's
oh right, yes, I love it. The score, it's diegetic. It's so perfectly done.
That's probably my favorite part of the whole movie. I don't know if I've said that before, but like that has to be it. Where it's like Dewey's walking through the house and you get the bump right before it cuts to the next scene. Or it's like the fact that they timed it all out perfectly to match like. It's not just like in a glup shitto, like, oh, it's Halloween way. It's actually commenting upon how real, in quotations, slashers are meant to be taken.
It's using out all of it. Like you said, it's not just pointing to it. It'd be like, hey, remember Halloween? It's like, no, we're gonna use all of this.
Use all of the buffalo.
No, for sure. I mean, you guys are. Anybody here see H2O Halloween 7? Right? Because they
unfortunately,
it's the worst one, man.
I think 8 was even.
No. Wait, I'm no resurrection slander. You know why? Because that one's actually fun and not boring.
Okay. Yeah, that might be another debate for that. No, but I remember it was interesting how they also had like a Scream. I think they had Scream playing either that or Scream 2 playing on a video.
Yeah,
tape.
it was Scream 2. Yeah.
Okay, so that was 98. Okay.
Yeah, but they didn't use it in such a way like at all, which was like, like kind of nice shout out, I guess, but definitely missed opportunity. No, but I think I get what you're saying, right? And then there's of course like that timing, right? Like with like Jamie, look behind you. I mean, it's like, the moment really is perfectly timed, especially, like it works on several levels, like right there. I remember that. I'm like, yeah, that was great.
And chief among them, I think that the best part about that sequence is that like everybody who's ever watched a horror movie has always been like, oh, how stupid they were to do that, like, oh, just do this simple thing and you would be out of there, right? And we've even done that on this podcast talking about some of these kills, right? But the fact of the matter is like you don't know what you're gonna do until you're in that scenario, right? Like he doesn't know that Ghostface is standing right behind him. He doesn't know to turn around, right? This movie is like putting the mirror up to the audience and being like, how many times have you said this thing and how many times were you being an asshole and just being wrong? Like it's not a plot hole if you just think that like you're smarter than the movie and you're not, so I think that's just like a nice way for Wes Craven, the filmmaker, to clap back, to audience expectation.
Yeah. So, let's see. What happened? We talked about.
Did you guys buy the Billy was the first time like, oh, Billy's dead? I guess he's not the killer.
No. I already seen scary movies. I know that wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah.
I remember being surprised the first time I saw that. I thought like, oh, okay, and then I was like, wait a minute, he's alive.
Yeah, well, that part is because I was listening to the commentary and Craven's like, he totally sells it. He survives somehow. I'm like, I know he does. Like, I'm like, okay, so Billy's fucking with her now because I'm like, no way you survive that, dude.
Like for me, like I'm looking like it's commenting on horror movies, but it's still a horror movie. So like when I watch this, I'm like, I don't buy anything until you see the body go on the ground. It's the way I treat all of it.
A funeral scene.
Mm-hmm. I need to see that thing go in an incinerator, and put in an urn first,
All right. And also, Dewey gets stabbed. Gale gets, knocked out. Everyone's falling. They're falling like chests here. And then we get you know what? It's a testament. I said it before. It's a testament to how convincing the performances are on both ends. Lillard, Ulrich, and Jackson. That when they had the big reveal of like the voice changing effect, like, oh, it was me. The effect does not work at all. It works 0%. It works -% actually, but you still buy it because everyone's like giving it their all.
Yeah.
I still can't get over the scary movie gag where it's like, he uses the voice and he's like, surprise, it's like a little girl, and then he and then he like punches it,
Sean.
and it's Sean. Surprise.
Sean Wayans is great in that movie.
I just love the chaos because even before we get to the kitchen, like Jamie Kennedy is or Randy's pointing at Stu and like, no, it's him, and they're blaming each other, and then Sydney just goes inside and closes the door.
They said, "Fuck you both."
That's the most I relate to her. I'm like, yes,
yep.
Like you make the decision in relative safety.
You gotta care about yourself first. Put your own safety at first here.
And even though like we've been like relating to Jamie Kennedy and how he's been like breaking down these films, like when you watch that character coming up to you going like, oh, please let me in the house, I swear I'm not the killer, I don't trust him at all.
But let's trust my weird boyfriend who speaks like this. Every single thing he says.
Sketchy.
Does Stu call her baby when he asked to give her like, Sydney, give me the gun? He's like, this is Sydney, baby. Like, you're not. She's not your baby. Why are you saying that?
I will say this. I think the fact that like Billy is totally the bad guy is very evident upon rewatch. Like
it's evident. It's evident every time. Like there's that shot where he's like hugging Sydney and he's like overly cast in shadow. Like, oh, you're okay. Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe, but I will say, like, I think the first time experience with this kind of film is very important, right? Because you really you don't know anything. You don't have those expectations. I mean, even if you're film savvy, I think this film still has the capacity to surprise you, right?
For sure.
And but upon rewatch though, it's like, oh yeah, that part was that was kind of glaringly obvious in hindsight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. The way I kind of take all of this, and I brought it up earlier on. I'm not sure if this is when you jumped on, but like it's weird that this movie comments so much upon Halloween when structurally this film shares so much with Black Christmas, right? Because like everything that's going on with Skeet Ulrich and Sydney is this, same
boyfriend.
central thing that happens in Black Christmas, right? There's this whole question of autonomy. There's this whole question of like, you know, the relationship dynamics, right? And the question of like culpability as well. Is like, is the person that I'm with this bad guy, right? And the fact that this movie so definitively makes the decision, like, yes, they are the villain, right? Like, yes, the person who is closest to you was this bad guy. And then also, like, to go further upon that, we were just talking about the voice, right? That like these guys were occupying this alter ego that they could both interchange, allowed for them to dehumanize themselves and to remove like any kind of culpability of their own actions, right? Like they were both Ghostface, right? So they both don't like take full accountability. And you even see that with like Lillard when he gets stabbed, right? He doesn't fully believe it. He's like, yeah, we just got to do this. And then like by that time, he's like, oh, I'm out, man. Right? Like this is all just like
well, because they've never experienced real violence themselves. They've only inflicted it. Like
for sure,
it's been one way. So it's like, oh yeah, it fucking.
It's that Family Guy gag. It's that Family Guy scene. I belong here.
You know, I love that line. So hey, I'm feeling a little woozy here.
I like that they say like, oh, what's the motive? Why did Norman Bates kill people? Why did Hannibal Lecter kill people? I was like, I think Norman Bates kind of had a motive.
A very big motive.
Yes, he did. They explained it elaborately at the end of the movie.
They over-explain it.
The real question should be like, was Norman aware of his motives, right? Like,
right.
But then also like just to put another point of like Matthew Lillard's like you know, reaction to getting stabbed. I like it when he thinks that they're fucked. And she's like, what are you going to tell them? I was influenced. Oh, you know,
peer pressure.
Peer pressure. That's it. Yeah. Like again, pre-Columbine. The fact that this is like what they're doing.
He said it so clinically too. Peer pressure. I'm very influenced by my friends. Like this is like he's just like he's got it all planned out. It's so good. I love it. But anyway, anything you guys want to point out, because we gotta wrap up.
One thing I do want to point out is how in Halloween it was California pretending to be Illinois, and it's important that this is in California. I do think that is like an important delineation of this movie.
Like this is the real world.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's all I wanted to say on that.
Yeah. How about you, Doug? Anything lastly you want to point out or say?
No, it's just this is a classic for a reason, and I just having this discussion and doing the rewatch is like, yeah, this original one, it's not just like a great horror movie, but it actually like has something to say, and the way it's talking about youth and our relationship to violence and movies, sexuality, how culture views women. Like it's like there's a lot in here, and it's like it almost sets the bar too high for the rest of the franchise.
I'm sure the second one will be just as good. You know,
it'll be lateral move, right?
Yeah, they'll keep that going. You know, but you know, you're right, and I think on this rewatch and my previous rewatch I did recently before this, like a couple months ago, like the gender stuff has, because like I think for the last couple of years have been really growing on me with this one, like with this particular one. It says a lot, you know, especially I think right now, especially since we're seeing a lot of this recurrence of, you know, violence, prejudice, stereotypicalness, the authority structures against women, that this one really kind of pops even more, because those things are still relevant today and tragically, really. And you know, it really does kind of like just stick a needle in it. It's like, you know, it's a pressure cooker of a movie for that kind of stuff. And I think it says a lot more than just, hey, don't say that you're going to be back. You won't be back. You know, it's more than the rules.
I kind of feel that as a whole, you know, it might have been better for the franchise quality-wise if maybe they just did like one of these, like, I don't know, maybe every 7 to 10 years, like every time, like, you know, every time there's been like a shift in horror as a whole, and there's something new to talk about. Like, I feel it's sort of been diluted by just the sheer number, you know, of sequels and then spin-offs and parodies that came after. Although I do love at least like the first Scary Movie film. But, you know, I remember there was this great gag in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, right? Where they stumble upon the set of Scream 4. And I think yeah, and it was starring
Shannon Doherty.
Yes, Shannon Doherty, exactly. And she had and like Wes Craven has a cameo, right? And then she had masks like Ghostface, and it's a monkey or something. And that already was kind of like, yeah. And so it was very ironic to actually, to realize, oh my God, they actually have made a Scream 4 and 5 and 6 and now 7 years after that, right? Like already by the time we got to 2001, it felt that the Scream or Scream-esque market had been oversaturated. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. I think that's probably why Scary Movie went in the direction it did. I think it went in the anthology direction because they basically just reset the board every single freaking movie. For a Scary Movie.
Yeah.
The important line in this movie is when they're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street and they say like, "Oh, the first one's good, all the other ones suck." And I feel as though Wes Craven carries that opinion over to Scream as well, even further as he continues on with the franchise. This is like alone standalone. There's a reason why this one popped off the way that it did.
Yeah.
It tapped into something that was bubbling up within horror, and it also reinvented the genre going forward. And it did so because it earned it, right? And you could
It's
only
a movie.
It's a real ass film.
Yes, it is.
Some movies are made, some movies are directed, as David Ehrlich said in reviewing Hamnet, and the same could be said about Scream.
Yeah, and like so, not to put a fine point on it, but you get the even the last scene, even the last couple of seconds is the dichotomy between like what is a personal journey and what is digestible, commodified, merchandised, public fiction, because like, Granny comes back, I'm so glad I was a virgin, and then Sydney's like, this is my story. I'm taking the power back of the hair. This is not some sort of stupid horror movie. This is my story. Kills Billy, and then Gail runs off to like merchandise this thing. So it's got that. It's a really cynical ending, honestly, because like Dewey's
I
like,
love how cynical it is.
Dewey's like on the stretcher bleeding out, going, Gail, where's Gail? And Gail's like 5 feet away, not giving a fuck.
I'm on camera now, bitch.
Yeah, like who's gonna make the money off of this? Like, Sydney has her power back, but it's the narrative is still not hers. Like she knows she has self-esteem, self-confidence back, but what's out there is out there. She can't control that, unfortunately. And that is the horrifying thing to think about. That's the series could have ended there, and that's I would have been
did they make more?
Hair. No,
That's
I'm not
crazy.
sure. Well, we'll continue Stabathon next week with Scream 2. The previous fan favorite. I think like Aliens, the tide has shifted on it. All right, so last thoughts, Tony.
Last thoughts. I'm not, looking forward to watching all of these movies like as massive, great totemic horror films. I'm more so interested in seeing like why they have persisted as long as they have, because as we've already discussed, like these things, they should comment upon more modern horror, right? But with what we've got now, like it doesn't do that. Instead, it's kind of cannibalizing itself. Anyways, you can find me at Poor Old Rolo Tony. That's my Twitter page right there. That's all for me for today.
All right, Doug, last thoughts.
Yeah, great horror movie. Looking forward like this is a fun franchise, even if the quality is all over the place, because there is I think you and me, Elvis, are united of the sequel that we're really looking forward to getting.
Yeah.
I really want to rewatch for because you can make a case for that being the best one. But
I think so too.
If you want to hear crazy takes like that, then Scream 4 is better than 1. You can follow me at the Doug Files, also at Movie Podcast. These guys got juice. Tony comes on. We just are wrapping up our coverage of The Leftovers. The season 3 episode will be up probably tomorrow, and we got other cool stuff coming on there.
All right, and you, Mikhail, last thoughts.
I just really enjoyed this discussion. I remember being, a fan of Scream, at least for the first 3 movies. I am actually interested in finally checking out the 4th one now because it sounds like, it's pretty highly revered these days. So maybe if you guys will have me for a discussion of the 4th one, I'd like
Definitely, you're
to.
welcome anytime. Hopefully, you get you on
Oh.
sooner.
You're locked in.
Yeah.
Don't think you're getting off this roller coaster just yet.
The doors have been barred.
Yeah.
No.
If we're going down, you're going down with us.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Availability pending.
Surprise, Mikhail.
Yeah. I would love to talk about the Chucky franchise at some point. I've realized.
Oh my
that.
god.
Oh, I want to see that Aubrey Plaza one.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. After like 40 minutes of nothing, it becomes really good.
All right, so you can find me at MLS532 on Twitter. I also have a Substack newsletter, textualvariations.substack.com, where I like to write about why movies exist in different versions primarily, and other stuff.
All right. Awesome. So let's see here. Thank you all for listening. Hope you have a great time listening, and see you again next week for Scream 2, aka the last one before things get really, really dicey. Give or take. But hope to see you then. Okay, and keep screaming.